to fulfill my mission. A river in a dry land. The land is in a lost land. A heartbeat for demon. A oasis in a strange land. I'm given the balance, but I'm standing on razor's edge now. But quick, all my life is over. One strike just offend them. I'm out of his field of vision. Don't ask if I'm ready, but I'm ready to strike them down now. I just saw the new stars. There's no time for indecision. A river in a dry land. The land is in a lost hand. When my heart of new beginning burned out deep. Now we need it, a heartbeat for demon. Oasis in a siege land. Remind us we're here for creating new life. Creating rivers in the desert.
It's fun. I go and I do 5 or 6 episodes at a time because, like, you know, Chester didn't have a ton of lines. So, like, you know, it'd be 10 lines in this one, and you knock him out really fast. And I ended up seeing Butch after season 2, and he was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry that like you couldn't do the show anymore." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "Your manager said that you couldn't do the show anymore, that you didn't have time." Oh no! And it made me, but I really didn't have time. But like, it made me so mad because, you know, I loved being a part of that show and ended up running, I don't know, 15 years, whatever it did, you know, and I would have loved to continue to do it. It was fun. I'd go and I'd do like 5 or 6 episodes at a time because, like,
What? For the music.
And wait till the
My heart is a furnace, had a selling my word of conflict. One goes what keeps me going. Take back what I lost to the bosses of greed and fear. Yeah. Don't ask if I'm ready, but I'm ready to take them down now. The time for a new start is constantly drawing nearer. A river in a dry land. The land is in a lost hand. When the hope of new beginnings burned out deep. Now we need it, a heartbeat for demon. Oasis in a siege land. Remind us we're here for creating new life. Creating rivers in the desert.
I love that song. Money.
It's not I'm not a fan. I'm in your face and I'm here to see you through. Right before your eyes, what just multiply? Got the flame arise. As the power grows, try to stop us shows. Life has wiggle time. Stop
I got 3 new likes on TikTok.
So you know that we out there, swatting lights in the naked. Can't move fast without breaking. Can't hold on our life for change. And our voices ring out, yeah. Took the mask off to be free. Falling out in the debris. Now we know that love will change.
Alright, I am back. I was not streaming for a long time there because I was sick. It wasn't like a overpowering sickness, it was just like a lingering sickness. It's fucking weird.
I'm not a big man, no, no, I'm just a realist, I'm just a realist. I just don't know your face. Make up your mess. Find in every breath. Fight inside your head, your heart. And as a grateful brain tries to fight in vain, you're
Welcome! Okay, first things first. Someone's playing fucking. I think I need to finish getting my shit for the week. Ugh. I need to finish getting my stuff for the week. So 3, 1. Why did I buy this, man?
Will you cry out in pleasure or pain?
Probably both.
Feast your eyes on the lovely and lethal Femme Fatale! Will the challenger fall prey to the cruel mistress?
Come, my pets.
No.
This is my show. I will hear you scream.
A wicked weapon. Femme Fatale's poised to execute a fatality.
You will become a stain on this land.
I'll be a stain on your ring. Oh my god.
The challenger has nowhere left to run! Oh, not fast enough, I'm afraid.
I didn't even see her kick there. Autistic speech.
This is just the beginning. My faithful minions, give me your ether!
It's begun! She's draining the audience of their ether.
I'm not either. My favorite line in this whole tier. I'm not either.
All of you will feed me.
Chad, you think I
Femme
can?
Fatale's unleashed the ether. The challenger's in her realm now. And they're down. Can they recover from this? And they're back in action. Can they turn the tide?
What is good? No.
You are a stubborn one, but it is not too late to beg for mercy.
The spectacle of slaughter resumes. How will the challenger adapt? It's a veritable reign of death.
Such insolence I have never known. More. I need more ether.
She's draining the crowd's ether again! I hope our dear spectators are feeling all right.
I just need a juice box. Oh! I was looking at Chap. Oh,
In pain lies pleasure.
She's unleashed even more ether! How will this end?
that dancer's playing with brain lag. So that Raven died of phlegma.
Oh, Dara! What fighting spirit! What power! Looks like someone isn't holding back.
On your knees, damn you!
Say please. Hey, please, Skilly Lady. I'll be fine here. Kill boss. Disregard mechanics, kill boss.
It's all over. Until next time.
What do I need? Glove. Boss said me need gloves. Boss said we got gloves. I'm sinister under your skin.
And as I look through the horizon, and stormy winds go to the cold. Like it breaks out of nowhere, all around you is not what you foretold. You know
Never see it coming.
you see that my mind is to pass for eyes. You're done but the silence hit you, you're not surprised.
There we go. Ba-ba. All right, now we only need 3. Ba, 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 ba. Can we wait some? What the? Are we watching YouTube while we wait? Ba, 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 ba. Let's shrink my dog a little bit. And I friend.
Hi, I'm Jay. I want to talk about the Lord of the Rings movies.
Okay.
Have you ever been watching Lord of the Rings and thought to yourself, wow, I love these movies? How does that work, though?
Shit! Shit! Every time. Long live the
At long
king.
last, the decisive match against the Grand Champion! Will the challenger triumph and seize the tyrant's throne?
First, I shall take your measure. Show me your footwork.
Another attack evaded with a palm. A direct hit, but they're still standing.
How about this?
Oh, even I felt that. Can't afford to be careless now.
Behold, the essence of martial mastery.
Program. Out, circle, cross.
Absolute brutality! The champion's power is unmatched.
There is much more to come.
Oh, the challenger's holding their own.
It has been a long time since I've enjoyed myself so.
anytime, folks. He knows no mercy, and he's never tasted defeat. And they're back in action. Can they turn the tide?
No more holding back. Prepare yourself, unenhanced warrior.
I beg your pardon? What is he going to do with all those weapons? Such ferocity! The champion is ruthless indeed!
Shit.
My reign is absolute. I will not lose.
The tyrant altered his form. He looks even more tyrannical than before.
Know the folly of challenging me unenhanced.
Holy fuck. Hit your own tether, bro.
I will not yield my throne.
What a display of power! He's unleashed the full might of the behemoth!
Now fall.
Me when I see a stack of Oreos. Now
Oh, he split the
fall.
ring in half. We're going to need urgent repairs.
He split the ring in half.
Oh no, they've been felled with a vengeance. Oh, they're up! What fighting spirit!
Look up on.
Oh dear, the challenger has fallen out of the ring.
Try this.
Oh. Yeah, don't clip that. Don't clip that, Chad.
And now he's thrown the ring. What absurd strength! Ahem, the ring shall presently be restored.
Give me kick.
Oh, it's a clash between Feral Tide and Mortal Resolve. Either side can come out on top.
The power of feral souls makes the Arcadian what it is.
down. Can they recover from this?
The crown of the Arcadia. They kick two.
It's all over. Until next time.
Look, I rolled an 18. Cool, fun. Kill myself. Oh, I got the gloves. Okay. Long live the king. I'm actually done with Final Fantasy for the week then. Although I was supposed to get something. Look at my sticky note. Boots, $4.95. We got enough. Let's go grab them. Oh, she died.
What a lovely tear.
Show that guy. Rice farmer? Christ. La 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 la. Now we look fresh as fuck. I'm level 770. Ooh, look at everyone streaming today. God damn it. I love looking over. Fix this fucking bullshit. Where's dog 2? Let's fix dog 2. Let's fix dog 2, chat. Dog 2. There you go. And then this scene just doesn't have a dog. Dog 2. Man, all my shit's broken. All my shit broken.
Oh, why would you do that? Who the hell is that? What do you mean you don't know about Moria? If so... Hi, I'm Jay. I want to talk about the Lord of the Rings movies. Have you ever been watching Lord of the Rings and thought to yourself, wow, I love these movies. How does that work though? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Who the hell is that? What do you mean you don't know about Moria? If so... That's fair. There's a lot of lore stuff that the movies specifically are missing, and as a result, sometimes they don't make sense. People make decisions that don't track, or they're in locations that don't make sense for them to be in, or they come back to life and never tell you how, for example. Sometimes they don't make sense. So let's fill in the blanks. In this video, we're going to talk about background, relevant background, not all of it. And the first movie, The Fellowship of the Ring. We're going to try to make this as accessible as possible. Also,
Hell
if you
yeah.
love this lighting fuckery, we're going to ignore it. Should we play this song?
I don't know how much of that music I can play.
Isn't he great? So, Lord of the Rings. To start out, we are on a fantasy continent called Middle-earth. The relevant groups of people here for the moment are going to be elves, dwarves, and men, which means humans in this context, and a couple types of divine beings. Also hobbits, but we'll get there later. So a long time ago, like thousands of years ago, there's this pointy guy. I know you probably can't see any of this clearly because it's far away. This is honestly mostly for me. Pointy guy. His name is Sauron or Sauron, and I have yet to decide which way I'm going to pronounce it. And as you might be able to guess, he's evil. In the movies, he's often a big eyeball. You might be familiar. The movies never really explain what his deal is, which confused me a lot as a child. I'm going to explain it.
Wasn't he a servant of like a god who got expelled from the planet? Wasn't he like this a servant of like real Satan, Spider Satan, who got expelled from the planet or some shit like that?
It is a lot. So J.R.R. Tolkien is the author of Lord of the Rings. In his overall mythology, there is like one main god. In this image, I have chosen to portray God as a nebula from the Hubble Space Telescope. He's doing a bunch of god shit. We're mostly going to ignore him. All you need to know is that he's generally very hands-off. Very hands-off. Subordinate to the main god are these beings called Valar. I would classify them as like archangels. They were sent in by main god to shape the world, etc. Subordinate to them are these beings called Maiar, which would be angels if these guys are archangels. The Maiar are like assistants to Valar, somewhere between assistants and interns. Sauron is one of the Maiar. He's angel tier. Not a god, but very powerful, and still a divine being. Clearly, though, he's become evil. Whoops. You win some, you lose some. Originally, one of the Valar became evil because he was jealous of the main god's power, and then Sauron became evil because he saw that guy, and he was like, you have a point. The evil Vala's name is Morgoth. You don't need to care about him, like, at all. He's only relevant because he was the big bad on Middle-earth for a while before Sauron. But he got, like, destroyed and banished from the planet by the other Valar, and then once he's gone, Sauron takes over. The only reason I'm telling you about him is because there's some stuff that exists because of shit he did during his tenure as Middle-earth big bad. So it might be helpful to have his name up here. But that's the only thing you really need to know about Morgoth. He was in charge of being evil before Sauron was. So anyways, Sauron is not a person. He's a divine spirit. And he has a bunch of super nebulous powers, like mind manipulation and shit, and also smithing, because before he was evil, he was the intern, apprentice, whatever, of the Vala who was in charge of making stuff. Fun fact, the main god is the only one who can bestow, like, consciousness, and he created first the elves and later the men. He did not create the dwarves. The making stuff Vala did that. Straight up just because he felt like it. And then they were given consciousness because the main god was like, oh, those are pretty good. I guess they can have some too. But you have to take care of them. I'm not going to be the one feeding them or walking them or cleaning up after them. Sauron. He's an angel spirit thing and he's bad news. He does manipulation better than your ex-boyfriend. Better than my ex-boyfriend. Now, several thousand years before the start of the story that we're actually supposed to be talking about, Sauron is out on the town being evil. He shapeshifts into a hot person and he goes to visit the elves. And he's like, hey elves, I've been sent by the Valar to help you guys make stuff because I'm like a sick ass smith and I'm hot so you can trust me. And this proposal mostly works. He convinces the elves to make a bunch of magic rings that have various powers. They make 16 rings and he's like, these will help you be stewards of the land and so on. But pretty quickly one of the elves is like, actually I think that Hawkeye's lying. So that elf goes and secretly makes 3 more magic rings. So those 3 Sauron didn't help make and he doesn't know about them. These 19 rings, or Sauron thinks it's 16 rings, will eventually come to be known as the Lesser Rings of Power. They are not known as that yet because there's nothing for them to be lesser to. However, we're going to take care of that right now. After these are made, Sauron goes and secretly makes 1 more ring. It has a bunch of powers, but the main thing it does is give him like corrupting influence over the people wearing the other rings. And because they were made by the elves, those people are all powerful elven leaders. This, of course, was Sauron's real plan all along. He just wants to influence and manipulate powerful people. The ring that Sauron just made is more powerful than all the other ones, and it comes to be known as the Ruling Ring of Power, or just the One Ring. When Sauron makes this ring, he puts like most of his power and will into it. So it is bad news. And Sauron intends to use it to control the elves and break down societies and eventually rule Middle-earth and so on. Classic. However, this plan sucks and it doesn't work because the elves are kind of magic and they can like sense magic shit happening. So they're all wearing their rings. Sauron puts on his ring and immediately all the elves are like, oh, that hot guy's trying to corrupt us. Their solution is to take the rings off. Which works. Like, that's all they had to do. But they do have them on long enough for Sauron to be able to tell that there are 3 extra rings. So Evil Boy now knows about those 3 rings, but he can't control them because he didn't help make them. But also, he can't actually control any of the elves right now because none of them are wearing their rings. So he gets pissed off and goes and kills a bunch of elves. He recovers the 16 rings that he helped make, but he's unable to find the remaining 3. That takes him a long time to do, though. So by the time Sauron has recovered these rings, the dwarves and the men both exist in Middle-earth already. I don't have the exact timeline on that, just know that elves are super, super old. So Sauron is like, okay, fuck, my elf plan didn't work. I guess I'll go try the men and the dwarves. So he pretends to be hot again, and he redistributes the 16 rings that he has. He gives 9 to the men and 7 to the dwarves. Why not just go for an even 8-8 split? Well, there are only 7 clans of dwarves. So he just gives a ring to the leader of each one and then gives the rest to the men. Now, does take 2 of his plan work? Yes and no. It works on the men. He's able to control the 9 important people that end up taking those rings. And those men become like super power hungry and kind of immortal, and they start like fucking up their own kingdoms from the inside. They also like wither away and stay alive but lose their physical forms, which isn't great. We'll talk about those guys a bit more later. Plan take 2 does not really work on the dwarves. They were made by that one Vala to be like tough and strong-willed, and so Sauron is unable to control them. But they are still affected by him fucking with their heads. Sauron's attempt to control them kind of has like a reverse effect, where they become like even more strong-willed and obsessed with the things that they were already into, which mostly includes gold and riches. So basically the dwarves become really greedy. The dwarven clans mostly live inside mountains, and they gradually mine those mountains because as a people, they're master craftsmen like the Vala that made them. When they're being influenced by Sauron through the rings, they get too greedy and start like mining too deep into their mountains. One of the big consequences of that is the basis for The Hobbit, the book. A dwarven clan was hoarding so much gold inside this one mountain that a dragon pulled up and was like, actually get out, this is mine now. Also because of their extreme greed, the dwarves start picking fights about other people's artifacts and they get into various wars about it and about other stuff, but it's a lot of greed. Those various wars and artifact issues and stuff have led to the dwarves having a pretty negative relationship with the elves. Also, a lot of dwarven kingdoms throughout time have been abandoned because of war or environmental issues or monsters. It's usually monsters, I'm not gonna lie. Monsters like mountains is what we've learned. And I do know that. I live in Appalachia. Also, remember how the dwarves have 7 of these rings? 4 of those get destroyed by monsters. Dragons, classic. The wording in the books is that the dragons consumed them, which probably means that whoever was wearing a ring got lit up and the ring melted. However, I choose to believe that consumed by dragons means that the rings were eaten by dragons. I hope they enjoyed them. The 3 to 7 dwarven rings will now never come up again. So Sauron's plan, which sucked, only worked on the men. But he's like, okay, whatever, that's better than nothing. So now he's working towards his dream of trying to rule Middle-earth. Keep hustling, King. During this time, he's living in this Doom Eternal level called Mordor. So let's get Mordor on the map.
Dude, 100% is a Doom Eternal level. On point. That is a Doom Eternal if I've ever seen it. Let me flip my doggy. Hold on. Doggy wants to be looking.
So Sauron is living in Mordor, and he controls this huge army of orcs, which is basically an entire people that is enslaved and also has Stockholm Syndrome. Technically, they used to be elves, but a really long time ago, they were corrupted by original evil guy Morgoth. So now they're like permanently fucked up as a unit, I guess. Notably, they don't have to be made by like new elves anymore, though. They can just reproduce. There are truly so many of them. Also, they have vampire problems, which is to say that they're weakened by sunlight. So we're now about 3,000 years before
what?
the actual story starts, and this is the part that's shown in the first couple minutes of the movie. Sauron is at like
Is that a
maximum
cinnamon roll on her?
power, and he and the ring are a huge threat to Middle-earth. To stop Sauron from ruling Middle-earth, a few armies of elves and men get together and go lay siege to his big spooky castle in Doom Eternal Mordor. The goal with the siege is just to get the ring away from him so that he loses a lot of his power and also can't control whoever has these rings at a given time. At the siege is a man named Isildur. By the way,
Isildur!
I know that these lines aren't parallel. We're just gonna have to deal. It's good exposure therapy for you. Isildur is the heir to being the king of men. His dad is king at the moment, except not anymore because he dies during this siege. Basically, mid-siege, Isildur becomes the king of men. Also during the siege, Isildur is able to cut the ring off of Sauron, which makes him weak enough to be killed. So Sauron is killed. After Sauron is dead, this one elf guy, Elrond, who will be on the wall later but not now, Elrond is like, bro, Isildur, go throw the ring into the local ultra-powerful volcano, which is actually the only place the ring can be destroyed because it was forged in the fires of this volcano. I don't know, the rules are all over the place. But Isildur is like, actually, no, I'm gonna keep it. As you might imagine, this is not the right call. Regardless, Sauron is dead, except he's
As you might imagine, this was not the right call. Weird strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it plays out for them.
not actually, though, because like we said, he's a Maya, not a person. So this body is dead, but his spirit is still fine, which is basically all that he is anyway. So that means that he just makes himself a new body, which is allowed, I guess. And he still has control over his armies and stuff. But he no longer has the ring. And without the ring, he's a lot weaker and he's going to face a lot of problems. Now, about this ring, Tolkien was purposely vague about how it works and what it can do. So if it seems like I'm skipping those details, it's probably because those details are unclear in general. Honestly, that applies to kind of everything in Lord of the Rings, especially things having to do with magic. In Lord of the Rings, there is no magic system, but magic does exist. So if at any time you're like, hey, what are the rules? I don't know, and neither does anybody else. About the ring, though, just know that, one, the ring is magic.
I don't
and
know,
when
nobody
Sauron
else
made
does
it,
either.
He put the majority of his own power and will into it so that it would be strong enough to control the other rings. As a result, though, if he doesn't have the one ring, a lot of his power is taken away from him and he's weakened. Two, the ring is kind of sentient, like not all the way, but it does have some degree of will. Three, when a normal person, which is to just say not a divine being, puts it on, they turn invisible, kind of. They're on like another plane or whatever, but no other normal people can see them. And four, it has an inherently evil and corrupting influence, and that influence is addictive. So basically what Sauron was trying to do with the One Ring through the Lesser Rings, the One Ring kind of does on its own anyway. If you're near it, it'll start to fuck with your head. You don't even have to like hold it or wear it. You can just be like in its vicinity. First of all, it makes you obsessed with the ring itself. Like your life goal becomes to get it and keep it at all costs. And then it also makes you super ambitious and power hungry and evil. Regarding that though, it builds on what you already have, which means that what exactly happens to you depends on your desires and your particular definition of power. The ring basically amplifies your pre-existing negative traits to the extreme. And it also makes you believe that whatever you're doing is the right thing. And finally, everything the ring does to someone is a very gradual process. It's not like it just has like aura AoE, turn everyone instantly evil. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, it extends your life for some reason. Why does it do that? So, Isildur has the ring.
Well, extend your life so it has a higher chance of finding someone else to get passed on to. I think that was like the reasoning, wasn't it?
He starts slowly going evil mode, likely thing for him to do, because men are easily corrupted by power. This is a double entendre, just so we're clear. But actually, one of the most consistent differences between the books and the movies is the portrayal of men. Men are portrayed overall much more positively in the books than they are in the movies, especially regarding like power and corruption. In the movies, it's like every human is weak-willed and desires nothing but power and will immediately become full evil if they get literally anywhere near it. In the books, it's like, well, a whole culture is not a monolith. But also, men do have the shortest
I love that.
lifespan of any of the races of Middle-earth. By a lot. Dwarves live for like 300 years, and elves are immortal unless they're killed. Meanwhile, humans have human lifespans. So the race of men's ability to endure in the world is dependent on what they can do in a comparatively very short period of time. And Tolkien shows the culture of men to be one that really values honor and legacy. So it's not like they're inherently weak or predisposed to corruption. It's just that men tend to have a greater desire for power because they're trying to ensure that their people survive. The books and the movies having such such different takes on the cultures of men does result in some movie events not really making sense. The event is still the same, but the way that men act in the movies is so different that the motive isn't there anymore. For example, what's about to happen to Isildur? So at one point, this is way after the siege on Sauron, Isildur gets ambushed by orcs and the ring abandons him, like it falls into a river, and it does that on purpose. That's what I mean when I say it's kind of sentient. The ring's only goal is to just get back to the person with enough power to control it, which at the moment is Sauron, but it doesn't actually have to be Sauron. Like if Morgoth came back and he wanted to control it, he probably could. But anyway, the ring abandons Isildur, falls into a river, and it does that on purpose just to get away from Isildur so that it can start making its way back to Sauron. In the movie, this doesn't really make sense. A person who's corrupted by the ring will be super easy for Sauron to manipulate, which means if the ring successfully corrupts Isildur, it's going to be pretty easy for it to get back to Sauron. Why would the ring abandon him if it was successfully corrupting him, which it clearly was? Especially just to fall into a river where now nobody knows where it is. In the books, it's because when Isildur was ambushed, what he was doing was taking the ring to the elves to ask for help. And like we saw earlier, it's very hard to corrupt the elves. They're tanks. So basically, the ring chooses that ambush by the river to escape because that's its only chance. It knows that if the elves get their hands on it, it's going to be much harder for it to ever get back to Sauron. In the movie,
I didn't know that. I didn't know that Isildur was taking it to the elves. That's like something they don't gloss over. That we just assumed that Isildur was taking it back to his home kingdom.
it's like, well, Isildur is a greedy bitch who's smiling evilly at all times. He would never ask the elves for help, or anyone for help. Also in the movies, when that elf Elrond asks him to throw it into the volcano, he's like, mwahaha, no, I want it for me, so I could be powerful and strong and cool. In the books, he doesn't really know what it is. He takes it as a spoil of war. But back to the river situation, Isildur dies during this ambush. Happens to the best of us. But so nobody finds the ring for a really long time because it's at the bottom of a river and nobody really saw it fall. It stays in the river for 2,500 years. We're skipping forward. At the end of those 2,500 years, we get this dude, Smeagol. He's out fishing and finds the ring. He also kills a guy over it, but we've all been there. Smeagol wants to keep the ring forever and ever, so he takes it and goes and hides in a cave. The ring unnaturally extends his life, so he's in the cave for like 500 years. So he gets all wrinkly and gremlin and he becomes Gollum. All things considered, this is pretty good. After 500 years, he's still got like his physical form and some cognition. Why is Gollum not completely taken over? Because Gollum, or Smeagol, I guess, is a hobbit. Hobbits are technically an old offshoot of men, but hobbit culture is based completely around living a very simple, peaceful life. They really just want to sit and chill and eat snacks. Same. But they're naturally resistant to the evil of the ring because they don't have that much ambition for power that it can build on. Gollum is still fucked up, but he's only this fucked up, despite having the ring for centuries. Whereas those 9 men who were under its influence via the lesser rings got way more fucked up in a shorter period of time. So now we have Gollum. He's got the ring, he's over in the cave. By the way, in the movies, Gollum is played by Andy Serkis, who is a fantastic actor. I think my favorite actor, actually. Bro, the Prison Break episodes of Andor. Also, he's Renoir in Expedition 33. But anyway, because Gollum was a mocap role, Andy Serkis was deemed ineligible to be nominated for an Oscar for this performance. Even though so many people in the industry and on the set of this movie pushed for it. Which, like, are we so serious right now? This is one of the most impressive, iconic performances, legendary, and he demolished that shit. I love Andy Serkis. Anyway, at the end of those 500 years, we get Bilbo Baggins. By the way, we're going to reshuffle this
Bilbo Baggins
with backstory so that we have more room for new people. Anyway, Bilbo is also a hobbit, and he lives in this gorgeous, beautiful, idyllic fantasy version of a New Zealand sheep farm. It's called the Shire. Let's get it on the map. Here's the Shire. It looks really nice, man. Like, what a life. Also, by the way, different lines from the map indicate whose place this is. Black means that it's a Sauron zone. Brown means that it's a Hobbit zone. There will be more colors to come. So Bilbo lives in the Shire. At one point in Bilbo's life, a wizard pulls up. We'll talk about him more later. The wizard says, hey Bilbo, there's this dragon that took all the dwarves' gold and we're gonna go kill it. Bilbo kind of says nobody goes anyway. So they grab some buddies and go do that. This is the plot of The Hobbit. At one point during this adventure, Bilbo ends up in Gollum's cave. And the two of them do some really bullshit riddles which eventually result in Bilbo stealing the ring. As we know, ring evil, so this is bad news. Bilbo does not know that though. He just thinks it's a ring that makes him invisible. So these guys and their friends kill the dragon, and then Bilbo and the ring go back to the Shire. With that, we're jumping another 60 years forward to the start of the first book, although some of this backstory has already been in the first movie. So this has all been backstory. I'll be back in a minute. I'm going to rearrange these a bit. I have a feeling that the lighting between this shot and the next shot is going to be drastically different. Is the lighting super different? I honestly don't remember what it looked like last night. Okay, so picking up here, which is where the books and the movies...
Dude, I love her
appear 60
tattoos.
years
They're
after
sick.
Bilbo got the ring. It's his birthday. He's turning 111, but he's
Does
still
she have an
playing-
Adult Swim tattoo? Oh, that's awesome. A Kirby.
looking like he's 50 because
Her
the ring
tattoos are
is
great.
unnaturally extending his life. The wizard who he went to kill the dragon with is in town for his birthday. Good friend behavior. The wizard's name is Gandalf. I'd imagine you know this. He's our bestie. Now, in the context of Lord of the Rings, what is a wizard? There are 5 total wizards on Middle-earth, and all of them
They're
are
Maiar.
So
Yeah.
they're the same thing as Sauron, but they're like a specialized set. Like all wizards are Maiar, but not all Maiar are wizards. The 5 wizards were sent to Middle-earth by the Valar to be helpful in the fight against Sauron specifically. They're obviously allowed to do other stuff, but like their original purpose is to fight Sauron. So they've only been here for like 2,000 years. The Valar have kind of like programmed into the situation that the wizards are not allowed to control anyone or try to directly overpower Sauron themselves. Now, what can the wizards do? What abilities do they have? We don't know. Bilbo decides that he wants to go adventuring again.
My microphone got weird here, but Bilbo leaves the Shire and fucks off to an elf town that we'll talk about later. He left all his shit with his nephew Frodo Baggins, who is the actual main character of this series.
Frodo is going through Bilbo's shit and he finds the ring and he's like, hey Gandalf, what is this? And Gandalf's like, So Gandalf knew that Bilbo had a magic ring, but he didn't know which one. Like, he's aware that the One Ring exists, but he doesn't know what it looks like and can't prove that what Frodo has is it. So Gandalf's like, okay Frodo, you hang on to that for a second, don't tell anybody it's here, I'm gonna go do some research. In the movies, this research takes a few months. In the books, it takes 17 years.
Yeah. I could have sworn it was like 30 years or some shit.
Moving on. Gandalf goes and engages in the well-observed wizard behavior of reading tomes, and he's like, oh shit, this is the super evil ring. He also finds out that Sauron's army has captured Gollum, who has told them the words Shire and Baggins. And Gandalf's like, oh. Well, fuck. So after a few months / 17 years, Gandalf pulls back up to the Shire, and he's like, Frodo, this thing's bad news, and Sauron definitely knows that it's here. So you gotta leave. Meet me at this particular hotel called the Prancing Pony in a few weeks. I gotta go talk to my buddy. So Gandalf fucks off to go see another wizard, Saruman. Sauron and Saruman are 2 different names and people. I do apologize. Gandalf visits Saruman at his tower and he's like, what are your thoughts on this crazy ring shit? And Saruman is like, funny you should mention that. Sauron actually just sent his crew of 9 freaky monsters to go get the ring, and also I'm on his side and I'm putting you in prison. Saruman immediately no longer our friend. Saruman isn't really working for Sauron, he's just kind of allied out of convenience, and because he thinks he can figure out a way to have all of the evil power for himself. If at any time in the movie you see Saruman considering an orb, it's a special type of orb that we don't need to worry about yet. It's kind of just all-purpose crystal ball vibes, except sometimes he also uses it to contact Sauron. Anyway, regarding the 9 freaky monsters that Sauron has sent to go find the ring, they're called the Nazgul, and what they actually are those 9 leaders of the men that originally had the lesser rings. The ones that Sauron was able to corrupt with his original bad plan. Like we said, they lost their physical forms. So they went turbo crazy, and now they're like ghosts, kind of, and they just work mindlessly for Sauron. Also, they ride horses, but I'm unclear on whether or not the horses are ghosts. In the movies, they're spooky horses, but in the books, it's just like these are horses. But how can a ghost person have a horse that is not a ghost horse? I've been thinking about that for like 10 years. So Saruman is putting Gandalf in prison. Meanwhile, Frodo
I've been
is
thinking about
taking
that
the
for
ring
like
and
10
leaving the
years.
Shire to go meet up with Gandalf at that hotel. And he's got 3 Hobbit friends that are coming with him. Their names are Sam, Merry, and Pippin. They're all iconic, and they take on the roles of bestie, smart comic relief, and regular comic relief, respectively. Pippin's not dumb, it's just that in human years he's like 17, so he is dumb, I guess. He and Merry are both dumber in the movies than they are in the books, honestly. For context, Merry and Pippin are first cousins. The 3 of them are going with Frodo for different reasons. Sam is going with Frodo because he overheard Gandalf telling Frodo about the ring. Well, he didn't overhear, he was eavesdropping.
Have you been eavesdropping?
I ain't been dropping no eaves, sir, honest.
He's a gardener,
dropping
and he
no
was tending
eaves,
to plants
sir, he
underneath
promised.
Frodo's window, and the window was open, and etc. So on Sam's end, Gandalf sent him with Frodo. Merry and Pippin are there because Frodo and Sam ran into them while they were on their way out of the Shire.
What could possibly happen?
What happened to my audio?
So these two are kind of just along for the ride, and we're here for it. So the four of them are on their way to the hotel to meet up with Gandalf. Unfortunately, as you may recall, Gollum told Sauron's army the words Shire and Baggins, and so Sauron has sent his crew of 9 freaky monsters, the Nazgul, to the Shire to go get the ring. So our hobbits have to evade the Nazgul for a bit, which means that they're now like aware of the danger that they're in. But they make it out of the Shire and they pull up to this hotel to meet up with Gandalf. The hotel is called the Prancing Pony. Let's get it on the map. Blue string indicates that this place belongs to men. I've put both blue and brown string here to mark the Prancing Pony because it's in a town called Bree, which is a place where men and hobbits coexist. Anyway, our 4 hobbits pull up to the Prancing Pony to meet up with Gandalf. And the plan is that from there, we're going to go to this one elf town to see if they can help us with the ring. Basically, we're doing the same thing that Isildur was doing when he got ambushed by orcs. Actually, we're even going to the same town. But the hobbits get to the Prancing Pony,
Really?
and Gandalf is not there because he's been imprisoned by Saruman. You want a nerd's gummy cluster? Instead, they meet a guy named Aragorn. In the movies, he's played by Viggo Mortensen, which is an instance of absolutely perfect.
Oh, the audio gets cut here because of copyright.
So the hobbits meet Aragorn and he's like, hey, I'm friends with Gandalf and I've been tracking you guys since you left the Shire to make sure everything's chill. Gandalf's not here, so come with me. I'll take you the rest of the way to the Elf Town. So we get going to Elf Town. At one point, the Nazgul show up again and Frodo gets lightly stabbed, but it gets fixed. The light stabbing is a way bigger deal in the movies than it is in the books. At the same time, Gandalf breaks out of Saruman's prison by deploying the classic strategy, Big Eagle. I don't have a photo of the big eagles, even though I probably should, but just picture like a regular eagle and then make it really big. What's the deal with that? There are these giant sentient eagles in the world that act as messengers between like Godland and the Valar down on Middle Earth. In the movies, Gandalf like summons one to help him break out of prison. In the books, he doesn't have the ability to do that, and the eagle was just there. Whatever. Also around this time in the movie, there's a scene in which Saruman is like supervising a bunch of orcs who are doing various grunt work, and in the midst of that, there's a situation, I guess we'll call it, where a fancy new orc hatches out of like a membrane in the ground. I don't know, dude. That didn't happen in the books. This new orc is a member of like a subspecies called the Uruk-hai, which is why I've written orc/Uruks. The Uruk-hai are just version 2. They're stronger and faster than standard issue orcs. Sauron originally made them, but now Saruman is making his own batch and he's improved them so that they have more tolerance to sunlight. So we go from vampire problems with regular orcs to Twilight vampire problems with the Uruks. Saruman is making them because he plans to eventually betray Sauron, so he needs his own strong army. In the movie, Saruman says that the Uruk-hai are a cross between regular orcs and goblin men. No idea what a goblin man is. In the book, the like exact origins of the Uruk-hai doesn't get explained, which I feel like is fine. Regardless, now we have these fucking things. And Gandalf has successfully broken out of prison via Big Eagle. So all in all, Gandalf prison era was kind of inconsequential, but plot-wise, what it has done is that our team now knows that Saruman is evil, and the other team now know more about what's going on with the ring. I should move Bilbo out of that spot. It makes him look like he's evil. I've moved Bilbo over here so that he can hang out with the other people that are barely or not at all in this movie. Anyway, now that we're out of prison and no longer lightly stabbed, our whole team is good to meet up together in Elf Town, which is called Rivendell. Let's get it on the map. Here's Rivendell. Elf places are represented by yellow string. So we've come a decent distance now. Everyone is meeting up in Rivendell.
I'm sitting here in silence because I'm just so blown away about how good of a presentation this is.
Bilbo fucked off to earlier, so he's actually also here. All he does while we're here, though, is give Frodo some, like, invincible chainmail. So we will now no longer be getting lightly stabbed. Anyway, in Rivendell, we meet several characters. First, we meet Elrond, who we've actually met before. He was the elf that told Isildur to throw the ring into the volcano like 3,000 years ago. Elrond holds one of the 3 elven rings, like one of the 3 that Sauron didn't help make. And his role at all times is just to have infinite information and occasionally tell us some of it. We also find out that Elrond basically raised Aragorn. So Aragorn is a human, but he grew up here, like in Rivendell with the elves. Next, we meet Legolas and Gimli. They are an elf and a dwarf, and they fill the roles of Twink and Redhead, respectively. They also hate each other because,
Shut up.
remember, elves and dwarves have some mutual beef going on.
The ring must be destroyed.
I suppose you think you're the one to do it.
However, they're both iconic, and the storyline that they're in during the second book/movie is the best storyline in the trilogy, Argue with the Wall. I'm moving Sam over here
Argue
for
with
symmetry
the Wall
purposes.
is
So finally,
crazy.
we meet Boromir, who's going to
That's right up there with take a picture of your teeth with the flash on.
require us to learn more lore. So in this story, there are 2 important kingdoms of men. They're called Rohan and Gondor. I'm gonna put their names here, but I'm not putting them on the map for now because in this movie, we're not actually going to either of those places. The relevant one here is Gondor. Boromir is the son of the guy who's in charge of Gondor. That guy, though, is not the king. There is no king at the moment. So Boromir's dad is like the steward of Gondor. He's a de facto leader, but he is still a leader, which means that Boromir is effectively the heir to being in charge of Gondor. Now, why is there no king of Gondor? Well, we had one, but he died trying to defend the third kingdom of men, Arnor, which no longer exists. I'm realizing that Arnor is how Australians say "oh no." Just for context, Rohan is here, Gondor is here, and Arnor used to be up here.
Oh my
The fall
god,
of
it's such a
Arnor
good video.
significantly weakened the political position of men in the world, although Gondor is still pretty strong. Gondor and Arnor were very closely allied. Rohan is a much newer kingdom. When Arnor fell, Rohan still didn't exist yet. So for a while, Gondor was the last remaining stronghold of men. The last king of Gondor, the one who died, had no children. And this world is really into the like rightful line of kings or whatever. This dude died like 1,000 years ago and there were no heirs to take his place, which for some reason means nobody took his place. So Gondor has just been kingless that whole time. As a result of this variety of happenings, Gondor is nowhere close to its former glory. It's still pretty strong, but it used to be crazy. But it does have a steward who's mostly in charge, and that's Boromir's dad. So, looping back, Legolas, Gimli, Boromir. Now, in Rivendell, Elrond is hosting a meeting. In the book, this meeting is a 50-page chapter. Truly so brutal. The point of this meeting is that we're trying to decide how to get the ring the rest of the way to that one volcano where we can destroy it. Everyone fights over this for a while. They also fight over whether or not the ring should be destroyed at all. Because people are like, well, we could use it to help us. No, we cannot. The movies imply that the ring only listens to Sauron, but that's not the case in the books. In the books, it's just that Sauron is a being with a will powerful enough to actually control the ring, rather than be controlled by the ring. Shockingly, the meeting eventually decides that we are going to take it to the volcano, and Frodo is going to be the one to do it. And he's bringing 8 other people with him to help because he has, like, no skills. So this group is called the Fellowship of the Ring, and it is the 4 hobbits, so Frodo, Merry, Pippin, Sam, and then Gandalf, Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, and Boromir.
La 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 la. He said the thing. So sad they had to cut out all the stuff for this.
The last thing we have to do before leaving Rivendell is find out that Aragorn is actually the only living descendant of Isildur. Remember when I said that Isildur was the king of men? Being the king of men means that he was king of Gondor and of Arnor, which existed at the time. Like we said, when the most recent king of Gondor died, he had no direct heirs. But Aragorn is still part of Isildur's bloodline, which means that technically Aragorn is the rightful king of Gondor and of Arnor, but it doesn't exist, so we're not worried about that at the moment. The way Aragorn handles his like rightful king situation is one of the biggest differences between the books and the movies. In both, he doesn't find out about his lineage until he's like 20 years old. And then in the movies, Aragorn is like, actually, fuck that. I don't want to be king. Clearly, my ancestors sucked at having power and got corrupted by the...
Dude, I could have swore in the books he was like, fuck it. I'm going to be a ranger in the north and help take control of like the northern territories from orcs for like 50 years.
Ring, so I'm scared I'm going to be a terrible leader. In the books, he's like apprehensive about potentially being king, but he accepts it. Also in the books though, his big motivation for being king is the fact that he's in love with Elrond's daughter, which is kind of weird because Elrond raised Aragorn, but also the daughter is like 3,000 years old, so it's not like they grew up as siblings, I guess. Anyway, Elrond's daughter's name is Arwen, and she's given even less to do in the books than she is in the movies. Her helping Frodo doesn't happen in the books. Arwen is nonetheless more important in the books, but only in terms of being a source of motivation for Aragorn. I don't think these movies would pass the Bechdel test. The books definitely would not.
What's the
Actually,
Bechdel
the
test?
Second movie.
What is the Bechdel test? Bechdel. Oh, okay, I know what this is. Can they have a conversation? Yep. Okay.
Might pass the Bechdel test. There's the books of motivation for Aragorn. I don't think these movies would pass the Bechdel test. The books definitely would not. Actually, the second movie might pass the Bechdel test. There's a scene where Éowyn speaks to a little girl about soup. The little girl does have a name, I just don't remember what it is. Basically, Elrond is like, well, if my daughter's gonna marry a man, he better damn well be the king of men. Kind of iconic, I'm not gonna lie. And Aragorn is like, well, okay, I guess
King
I'm
shit
gonna
right
become
there.
the king of men then, because I really want to marry Arwen. Girl, if he wanted to, he would. In the movies, though, Elrond doesn't give that ultimatum, so that sense of motivation isn't there for Aragorn. Anyway, we'll talk more about that later. So, the Fellowship leaves Rivendell. We are taking the ring to that one volcano that can destroy it, which is in Mordor, aka the Doom Eternal level where Sauron lives. It's also super far away, and we will be walking because for some reason we refuse to get a wagon or horses or any. Actually, we do have a horse. We have an horse. His name's Bill. He's a pony. Sam is obsessed with Bill, which is fair. They do end up letting Bill go soon because it's going to get kind of dangerous. I would like it to be known that Bill the pony does survive the entire story and eventually meets back up with the hobbits.
I could have swore they find Bill again.
Anyway, we're leaving Rivendell. We're going to Mordor. While we're on the road, we're bonding, becoming buddies. This only happens in the movie, but one time at camp, Boromir teaches Merry and Pippin how to fight, and it's a super cute scene.
Good. Very good.
You hear me twinkling?
Boromir
I'm
is the
twinkling.
number one Merry and Pippin stan. You forget that Sean Bean is a really charismatic actor
Butterfly
because
knife.
he's always either playing villains or dying immediately. The next stop on our long-ass walk is the Misty Mountains, which is this giant mountain range, and all the shit we need is on the other side. The plan is to go over the mountains via the Pass of Carthros, which is a mountain pass. Let's get it on the map. Pass of Carthros, right here in the middle of the mountains. Technically, we could go around it and cut through this open space right here, but that's even farther away and would also take us really close to Saruman's tower. While we're crossing the pass, Boromir is noticeably a little bit too interested in the ring. It's starting to get to him more so than the others, but it'd be like that sometimes. Also, while we're crossing the pass, it unfortunately starts snowing a lot. It seems manageable until we get like halfway across, and then it's like, okay, the snow is taller than the hobbits, we have to turn around. I'm wearing a hoodie now. I got cold. Continuity. So, we have to turn around, but then how are we going to get through the mountains?
My mic fucked up again, so this British robot man is back. Anyway, the Pass of Carthros is directly above one of the abandoned dwarven kingdoms.
Because remember, the dwarves live inside mountains. The kingdom is abandoned now. It was called Khazad-dûm. The ruins of it are called Moria. Let's get it on the map. By the way, green lines indicate that this area belongs to the dwarves. The Pass of Carthros is technically a neutral zone, but I've marked it as dwarven because it's right above Khazad-dûm. Khazad-dûm was the biggest and most prosperous dwarf kingdom to ever exist in Middle-earth. And notably, it does not exist anymore. That's because about 1,000 years ago, the dwarves of Khazad-dûm mined too deep and woke up something that was sleeping under the mountain.
Whatever it was that they woke up was spooky and evil, and it drove them all out. However, nobody actually knows what it was because everyone who got close enough to see it was killed. Whoops. It got to the point where the dwarfs were like, hey, so nobody is coming back from the mines anymore, we should vacate the premises.
So Khazad-dûm has been abandoned for a long time, and now the ruins of it are called Moria, which is a thing that the elves started calling it.
I am too hot again and will be removing my hoodie effective immediately.
Continuity. In one of the elf languages, Moria means the black pit, so I guess that's shade.
I hate this microphone. The only thing still in Moria are a bunch of orcs that Sauron put there cause he needed a place to store them. Anyway, if we aren't able to use the Pass of Carthros, then going through Moria would be the next fastest option.
So we decide we're going through Moria, we get the doors open, there's a big monster outside. Again, dwarves have issues with monsters. We run through the doors into Moria to get away from the monster, and naturally it barricades the door behind us, so we're now for sure committed to this route. Moria is probably one of the things that confused me the most when I first saw the movies. In the movie, Gimli is the one who wants to go through the mines even before they try Carthros. Like, he wants to skip the mountain pass altogether and just go straight for Moria. Remember, Gimli's a dwarf. He says that his cousin is in Moria and that the Fellowship would get a royal welcome. In response, Gandalf is like, hey, terrible idea. We're not doing that unless we have literally no other option. And then because of the snow, they do it. In the book, Gandalf is the one who wants to go through Moria. Like, it's his idea. Gimli cautiously supports it. Everyone else is scared and doesn't want to do it because they know that something crazy went down in Khazad-dûm. The movie kind of acts like none of them know that Khazad-dûm is even gone, which would be insane, especially for Gimli. It's been 1,000 years since his kingdom fell. The explanation, which the movie doesn't give, is that everyone does know that this place is abandoned, but about 30 years ago, an expedition went out to try to reclaim some of it. The goal was to start a new colony there. The expedition was led by Gimli's cousin, who actually is one of the characters from The Hobbit. And at first it was successful. The expedition was able to clear the orcs out of a few areas and hold down the fort. And they were sending updates back to their clan. But after 5 years, the updates stopped. It's been 25 years of radio silence from this colony.
And for some reason in the movie, Gimli is still like, hell yeah, dude.
Can't wait to see my cousin go have a good time in Moria. It's gonna be great.
Soon, Master Elf, you will enjoy the fabled hospitality of the dwarves. Roaring fires, malt beer,
In the books, Gimli's like, yeah, I'm sure he's dead. But he's still pro going into Moria because he wants to know what happened to the colony. So if you watch the movie and you see Gimli being shocked about Moria and you're like, how the hell could he possibly not know that Khazad-dûm is gone? He does know. He's not expecting to find Khazad-dûm. He's expecting to find the new colony. It's just that for some reason in the movie, he thinks that they'll be alive. That whole shit is actually also the reason that Gimli was in Rivendell to begin with. He and his father were there to see if the elves knew anything about what happened to the colony. I don't know why they waited 25 years to go looking, but regardless, if you were wondering why the hell a couple of dwarves were just in an elf settlement by themselves, that's why. So we enter the Mines of Moria. It's a 4-day walk to the other side, which is brutal.
Jesus.
Plus, however long it takes us to briefly get lost. While we're waiting for Gandalf to figure out where we're going, Frodo looks over a ledge and sees a little creature crawling around in the mines. What is it? I'm so glad you asked. It's Gollum. Gandalf says he's been following us for 3 days because he can feel the ring and he wants it. Frodo's like, what the fuck? You knew he was there? Why didn't you say anything? And Gandalf's like, well, my magical wizard intuition tells me that he's got some part to play in all this. So Gollum is chill for now. I think that's the last time we see him or talk about him in this movie. We eventually do find the dwarf colony. They're super dead. When I say we find them, I mean we find a bunch of skeletons. According to the logbook that one of the skeletons is holding, the colony was fine for 5 years. Also, that particular skeleton was also a character from The Hobbit. During those 5 years, the orc population in the mines was growing a lot, but the dwarves didn't know that. The orcs were just waiting because they were amassing a big enough army to take out the colony. It's implied that this attack was orchestrated by Sauron because he's the one that put the orcs in Moria to begin with, but that's never like directly said. The last page of the skeleton's logbook is like, we hear drums in the deep. They are coming. Ooh. Sorry. Immediately after we read that, Pippin knocks something down a mine shaft and it falls like 1 trillion feet and makes a ton of noise. In the movie, it's like he knocks over a whole skeleton wearing like full armor and weapons and shit.
Yep.
In the book, it's a pebble. Like he tosses a pebble and it falls all the way down. Either way, the noise, I guess, alerts all of the orcs that are still living in Moria and they all spawn in at our exact location. Which, if it's the pebble, is crazy. You're telling me that every time a rock falls in this place that's made of rock, the entire army has to summon? That sucks. Also, right before the orcs, the Fellowship starts hearing the sound of drums way down in the mines. So that's confirmation that the dwarf colony was also killed by orcs. But we also know that orcs are not the thing that made the dwarves abandon Khazad-dûm. At the moment, though, orcs appear and everyone is now fighting. I want to point out that Sam has a sword but chooses to use a cast iron pan as a weapon, and that is frankly king behavior.
I think I'm getting the hang of this.
Also, it is in this fight that we first learn that Legolas is incredibly OP. And truly, I love that for him. He's significantly less OP in the books, but actually, I'm gonna go on record saying
I remember in the books he wasn't OP. He was just kind of like a normal elf, and I was like, huh. What's wrong with Legolas?
that movie Legolas is better than book Legolas. Genuinely, all this man does is look pretty and beat the shit out of everything. Iconic. Anyway, this fight quickly gets to a point where it's pretty clearly unwinnable for the Fellowship. It's just an insane number of orcs. So, it's time to deploy the backup strategy, run away. There's a section with this stone bridge over a giant chasm that we need to get across, and as we do, the orcs mostly stop following us. Which seems like a good thing, but it's not. They're hanging back because of the arrival of this fuck-off big monster.
Yeah.
Again, the dwarves have problems with monsters. Now, this monster. It's called a Balrog, and it's the thing that drove the dwarves out of Khazad-dûm 1,000 years ago.
Please give me more background info on the Balrog, please. They never talk about it. All I know that it was like, it fought with the Valar against the Satan.
Regarding what it is, it used to be a Maya, like the wizards in Sauron, but it was corrupted by original evil guy Morgoth. So now it's like a fucked up fire demon thing. Essentially, it's like how orcs were made, but replace elves with Maiar. Like we said earlier, though, until right now, everybody knew that there was something in Moria. Nobody knew that it was this. And actually, the only ones that even know what a Balrog is are Gandalf, who is a Maya himself, and Legolas, who is like 3,000 years old and definitely knows people that saw the whole shit with Morgoth. Also, it should be noted that the Balrog pulled up because it felt the ring, not because of Pippin tossing the pebble. I have to include that disclaimer as a Pippin stan. Anyway, now is a great time to deploy the backup strategy, run away faster. However, this is difficult because hobbits have very short legs, and also because this is like a narrow-ass, crumbling rolling stone bridge with no railing. This bridge is insane. Why would you have ever built it like this? We're not going to be able to get to the other side fast enough. Gandalf starts fighting the Balrog directly, trying to buy time. The rest of the Fellowship gets across the bridge, and the Balrog waits very patiently while Gandalf monologues at it and does some vague Tolkien wizard shit. Eventually, Gandalf says fuck it and just like magic collapses part of the bridge, at which point we get the very iconic so the
King
bridge
shit.
breaks, falls into the mines below, the Balrog falls with it, everything is good. Until 4 seconds later when the Balrog does the Ariana Grande and activates the whip that it for some reason has, and it grabs Gandalf and it's like yoink, and Gandalf falls with it. The last thing he does is tell everyone else to run away, so we do. With the Balrog gone, the rest of the Fellowship is able to make it the last stretch to escape Moria, which means we are now on the other side of the Misty Mountains. We are also now having a mental breakdown. Now you might be thinking, well yeah, Gandalf fell, but this is a movie. They might have turned off fall damage. But you're forgetting this is a movie based on a book from 1954. They hadn't invented the death fake out yet. So Gandalf does actually die because of this. But Jay, isn't he in the next 2 movies? Yes. He dies and then gets better. It's a whole thing. We'll talk about it next time. For the rest of this video, though, he's dead, okay? Thank you for your cooperation. So we're having our all-team mental breakdown over dead Gandalf. Pretty fair. And after about 10 seconds, Aragorn is like, okay, y'all, we gotta go because now every evil thing in the area knows that we're here. Also pretty fair. So Aragorn is in charge now, and his first act as leader is to do something that he will do pretty regularly for the rest of the series, which is to say the word Legolas and have shit just get done.
Legolas!
Legolas!
Legolas.
You know those days when you're like, this might as well happen?
Usually this happens during fights because Aragorn knows that Legolas is OP, but in this instance he's doing it to get the group moving. Where are we moving to? I'm so glad you asked. Lothlorien, or just Lorien. Let's get that on the map. It might have to go below the map. So we're not moving very far from the other side of Moria, just down here. Lothlorien is another elf settlement, hence the yellow string, but it's much bigger than Rivendell. And it's basically an LED version of the Ewok forest, with a greater focus on architecture. We're going there because if they agree to host us, we will for sure be safe. That's a pretty big if though, because Gimli is with us, and as you may recall, there's a lot of elf-dwarf beef.
I have the eyes of a hawk and the ears of a fox.
But after quite a bit of making fun of each other, we do eventually figure it out and we are allowed to stay. The most important thing that happens in Lothlorien is that we meet Galadriel. Galadriel is one of the leaders of Lothlorien. She's an elf and an absolute tank. She's like 9,000 years old, and she holds another one of the 3 elven rings.
Yep.
Elden rings. Elrond holds another one, and if you're wondering where the 3rd one is, Gandalf had it for some reason. I don't think the movies ever mentioned that though. Anyway, Galadriel is spooky creepy, but also slay, and she has another set of nebulous Tolkien magic abilities. She can do like vague telepathy. We're in Lothlorien for like a month-ish, and during that time, Galadriel has about 10,000 super weird interactions with various members of the Fellowship. The main weird interactions they show in the movie are with Boromir and with Frodo. With Boromir, Galadriel is basically just poking around in his head. She's suspicious of him because she can tell how much he cares about Gondor, and she can tell that there's still a part of him that kind of thinks that he could use the ring to help protect his people and restore Gondor to its former glory. The reason he thinks that is because, like we said, he's been around the influence of the ring for a while now, and it's starting to get to him. So Galadriel is like running mental tests on him and probably dealing psychic damage, who knows. Later, Boromir talks to Aragorn about it, and he's like, dude, I'm stressed out, but I'm glad you're in line to be king because you're chill as hell. The other important weird interaction that Galadriel has is with Frodo, in which Frodo is like, hey, so you're clearly way stronger and more knowledgeable than me. Do you want to take the ring and you can just take it to Mordor and destroy it yourself? And Galadriel's like, yeah, that sounds tight, that sounds sick, that sounds cool. Actually, no, I would definitely become evil. We love self-awareness. And then she's like, dude, the shit with the ring is really not a group activity. You can't keep doing this with the Fellowship, especially because the ring will get more powerful as you get closer to Mordor. Having it around so many people is a terrible idea. Like, one of your friends is for sure gonna end up getting corrupted, and actually, it's already happening. And Frodo's basically just like, yeah, I know, I'll deal with it. Also in this scene, Galadriel has a bowl of water that acts as a mirror, but it's like a magical mirror, and if you look into it, it'll show you like possible futures and or your greatest fears and or whatever it wants to show you at that particular time. Incredibly nebulous rules on this mirror. Regardless, Frodo looks into it and sees Sauron taking over Middle-earth, and he also sees the Shire burning. That's in reference to an event called the Scouring of the Shire, which only happens in the books. It's the second to last chapter of the entire series, and it's basically just the hobbits return home to find that the Shire is getting fucked up. It's a very famous literary anticlimax, but Peter Jackson decided to cut it out of the films, and honestly, I can't blame him for that. Even though the hobbits end up taking taking the Shire back, it is a pretty bleak end to the story. Regardless, it's not in the movies, so we're not going to worry about it. But if you're confused about what Frodo is seeing in the mirror, that's what that is. Also, while we're in Lothlorien, Legolas and Gimli start becoming besties. Does that get explained? Not really, other than the fact that a month goes by where everyone is just kind of sitting around, so you might as well get to know each other. Anyway, these two are divas, love them. Right before we leave Lothlorien, Galadriel gives the Fellowship some presents. I think the only relevant items are Lembas, which is like magical elven bread. All elf things have to be magic. And then something that she gives to Frodo called the Phial of Galadriel, which is like a glowing glass container thing. It's meant to be a light in the darkness in that it A, literally emits light, and B, gives you like a feeling of hope.
Isn't
when
it
you
a
touch
star?
It won't come up again until I think the third movie though. Galadriel also gives us all matching cloaks and brooches, so we are now slaying cohesively. We leave Lothlorien via the river Anduin, which is the longest river in Middle-earth. If we stay on it, it'll take us pretty much right up to Mordor. I love a hike that has a river section. I love to portage. Really, I love boats. Don't leave a canoe or a kayak unsupervised if I'm around. At one point along the river, we pass these giant stone statues of two men. They talk about this a little bit in the movie, but these things are collectively called the Argonath, and they mark the historical northern border of Gondor. It is no longer the northern border of Gondor, but we will get to that next time. The statues are actually depictions of Isildur and his brother, who were co-kings of Gondor for a while. Plot-wise, the Argonath is basically just there to show us that at one point Gondor was very, very strong, and it is no longer that strong. Pretty quickly after passing the Argonath, the group stops at a place called Parth Galen. It's just a forest. We're putting it on the map anyway. I've given Parth Galen blue string because while we are kind of in the middle of nowhere, this is technically still within Rohan and Gondor, which are kingdoms of men. So we're stopped on the banks of the river at Parth Galen. It's very pretty and very nice out, so naturally this is when everything goes to shit. First of all, Frodo is wandering around by himself and Boromir appears. Unfortunately, he's been overcome by the madness of the ring. And he's like, oh my god, Frodo, it's so crazy seeing you out here. How about you give me that ring so that I can save my people? And Frodo is
hold it.
no. So Boromir tries to take it by force. Frodo escapes by putting the ring on so he's invisible, and once he's gone, the ring's influence is farther away, and Boromir is able to snap out of it. And immediately he's like, oh...
Shit.
Girl, I just did something kind of fucked up. And it's true, he did. As he's realizing that and subsequently freaking out, Uruk-hai, naturally, where else would they be? Where did they come from? Saruman's house? How did they get here? Well, Saruman's been tracking the Fellowship with the spooky all-purpose orb thing that still isn't really important yet. Regardless, orcs in Parth Galen. At the same time, Frodo is running away, seeing a spooky vision of Sauron, taking off the ring, and falling off a stone platform like a dumbass in that order.
True.
Aragorn pulls up and he's like, dude, are you good? And Frodo is scared because of what just happened with Boromir. Frodo offers the ring to Aragorn as a test, and Aragorn's like, no. And also, I know you have to leave. This isn't working anymore. The ring isn't safe around this many people. So you go run. I'm going to go deal with the orcs that I can hear Boromir yelling about. Good luck in Mordor, don't die. Frodo's like, yeah, okay. As Frodo is leaving, there are a bunch of orcs on his tail. Merry and Pippin see him and they figure out what's going on, and they distract the orcs so that he can get away. Which he does, he gets away. This does have the added side effect of Merry and Pippin not getting away. The Uruk-hai are about to grab them, but Boromir shows up and starts taking the shit out of everything.
Honestly, if you would have told me 40 minutes ago we would still be watching this, I would be like, no way, no way. But like the presentation and like, I don't know, all the factuals of it and all the background shit that I don't know is keeping me sucked in.
Number 1, Merry and Pippin stand. Unfortunately, he gets
Plus,
shot
it's
with an
funny as
arrow.
hell.
Good news, he gets back up. Unfortunately, he gets shot with a bunch more arrows. And bad news, he eventually stops getting back up. By the time Aragorn gets to him, it's too late. Hobbits have been kidnapped. Boromir's about to die. Boromir tells Aragorn about how he tried to take the ring from Frodo, and he says that he's glad Frodo got away. He feels terrible about what he did to Frodo, and he says that men are hopeless and the world of men will fall, and that Gondor will come to ruin. And in the movies, this is the moment where Aragorn decides to become the king, as opposed to in the books where it's the Arwen thing. Granted, this is also a boost for that in the books, but his main motivation there is Arwen. He's basically like, dude, I'm not gonna let Gondor fall, and you've already redeemed yourself anyway. He's referencing what just happened with Merry and Pippin. At this time in the quest, Merry and Pippin are effectively just two random people. They're just Frodo's friends that are only here by happenstance. Like, they're not carrying the ring, they're not fighters, they don't have a ton of knowledge. There is no righteous or for the greater good reason to die for them, but Boromir did it anyway. He just cared, even though he didn't have to. So he does die here with honor. In the books, Boromir's death actually happens at the very beginning of the next book. I think it works fine here, though. Also, that scene is so good. I guess Sean Bean does have a lot of experience dying on screen, but my dude is good at it. Did Sean Bean die in National Treasure? I kind of feel like he did. Anyway, Legolas and Gimli find Aragorn, and the three of them have to make a decision here, which is to follow Frodo or to go after Merry and Pippin. They choose the second option because, like we already said, it's safer for Frodo and the ring if he goes alone. Except right as he's about to go, bestie of the universe Sam tracks him down and won't leave him. This is one of my all-time favorite sets of lines in a movie.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to Mordor alone. Of course you are. And I'm coming with you.
Like, what a ride or die. Absolutely legendary. So that takes us to the end of the Fellowship of the Ring, both the movie and the group. The company has officially split up. Quick final stats. Boromir is dead. Gandalf is dead. For now. Merry and Pippin have been kidnapped by Uruk-hai. We don't know where they're being taken. Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli have resolved to go after Merry and Pippin. And Frodo and Sam have set course for Mordor to destroy the ring by themselves. We will pick up here in the next movie, which in my opinion is the best one. I do think that's an unpopular opinion. Helm's Deep kicks ass, dude. And I like the Ents. Argue with the Wall. Thanks so much for hanging out. My other socials are in the description. My Patreon is there too.
Argue
if you wanna
with the
support me and
Wall
get
is
some cool
crazy.
rewards, including cut content, because I know I will have cut a lot out of this video.
Oh my god, she has another one? I can't. Dude, that was so good. I need to link that in chat for y'all. I want to watch another one. But I'm just aping her content if I do, bro. That'd be fucked up of me. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Wait, what?
Check Yeet video for XLSF mod? What? What happened?
Hello, Spez, Mr. CEO of Reddit. I hope you have received this public video that I have created and sent to you via your email.
Has to be a joke, right? There's no way.
Let's make tiramisu!
Tiramisu!
Say happiness can't be made, but that's just because they never made tiramisu with me. First, egg yolks, sugar,
You need
and
lady
mix
fingers.
until smooth and sunny. Then we add mascarpone. It's already delicious. In another bowl, beat egg whites until they're fluffy like little clouds. Fold gently. Gently! Be nice to the fluff. Now, it's time for espresso! Dip your lady fingers. Quick! No swimming, just a splash. Then, layer the cream, lady fingers, and cream again. Top with cocoa powder and let it sleep in the fridge for a few hours. When you wake it up, ta-da! And say with me, Buen appetito!
Buen
Let's make
appetito. Alright. I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Wait, I had a new BRB I wanted to add.
With his peerless blade work and preternatural agility, he's the apex predator of the cruiserweight division, the Howling Blade!
Hold on. Where is it? Advanced. I like this BRB screen. That's a good BRB screen. Sheesh.
Tiramisu! They say happiness can't be made, but that's just because they never made tiramisu with me. First, egg yolks, sugar.
Tiramisu! Oh no. Tiramisu!
I just remembered right now, Pat. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew that Sayu was Deadpool in the new Marvel Rivals game. I knew it, bros. I with this mother.
But for science, did you determine if all the frosting caused?
I just remembered right now, Pat.
He's really good at Deadpool, though. He's hilarious at Deadpool. Oh no. Another 40 minutes, let's do it.
Hi, I'm Jay. I want to talk about Lord of the Rings. Again, we are so incredibly back. I think we have a functional microphone this time. However, we now have new problems. I got this whiteboard and I was really excited about it. Look at this. I think the delivery guys probably dropped it off the truck. This video is part 2. We're recapping the second Lord of the Rings movie, The Two Towers, but we're going to add the lore that the movie skipped. You should probably watch the first recap because we're going to have to reference a bunch of stuff that happened in the first movie. And I should clarify something that I didn't clarify last time. I'm not giving you a full recap of the book. I'm adding the appropriate lore from the book to make the movie make sense. I'm here to fill in contextual gaps. That or I'm pointing out differences that I find funny. I know we like Tom Bombadil. I don't think that adding him into my first recap would have made the first movie make more sense, given that he is not in that movie. Sick? Sick. Two Towers. Not to be confused with Twin Towers. Very different situations. Saw that a lot in my comments. Regarding this title, actually, there are in fact 5 towers named in this book, and as a result, Tolkien felt that The Two Towers was super vague and misleading as a title, which, like, yeah, change it. It's your book. But apparently this title was actually more of a marketing decision on the part of the publishers, and Tolkien just eventually decided to take the L on this one. But then he also proceeded to really waffle about which 2 of the 5 available towers were the ones named in the title. He wrote a whole bunch of letters and he kept like picking different combinations. It was a whole thing. However, he did eventually decide to make it canon that the 2 towers named in the title are Orthanc, which we will visit during this movie, and Minas Tirith, which we will not visit during this movie. But the idea is that the plot is like slowly converging on Minas Tirith. So everyone's working their way over there, whether they mean to or not. The movie at one point says that the 2 towers are Orthanc and Barad-dûr. Ignore that. Don't believe the lies. Also, it doesn't actually matter at all. So to recap where we left off. At the start of this movie, Gandalf and Boromir are dead. Wow, that had such a dramatic flair. And the rest of the Fellowship has just split into 3 groups. We have Frodo and Sam, who are dealing with the ring by themselves. We have Merry and Pippin, who just got kidnapped by the Uruk-hai that killed Boromir. And then we have Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli, who are going after Merry and Pippin.
Slay
Really, there are
Squad.
2 primary storylines going on here. There's Frodo and Sam doing ring shit, and then there's everyone else trying to do a merger. In the book, those 2 storylines are completely separated. Like, we do all the everyone else shit in one section, and then we do all the Frodo and Sam shit in another section. Given how different these 2 stories are, I think it does make sense to separate them the way the book does. However, the movie does not do that. It does like a few minutes of Frodo and Sam, a few minutes of everyone else, back to Frodo and Sam, so on.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
I think it also works fine that way, especially for a movie. Regardless, we are going by the movie here, so we're gonna mostly do the back and forth thing. I will say, The Two Towers is probably the one with the greatest number of differences between the movie and the book, because a lot of pieces of this book have been moved to the 3rd movie. We needed more time in this one for Legolas to skateboard around Helm's Deep, but again, mostly we're recapping and filling in gaps. So we open Lord of the Rings Two Towers with Frodo and Sam. Watch this right now, watch this.
Oh, hell yeah.
You're jealous. I know. Frodo and Sam are wandering around an area up here called Emyn Muil. We're gonna do our best to get it on the map. I think this works, right? By the way, this time we're color coding the lines and the marks on the map, not by who the place belongs to, but by which of our 3 groups are there. So green is gonna be for Frodo and Sam. So Frodo and Sam are wandering around Emyn Muil. They don't specifically name it in the movie, but that is what it's called. I think it's supposed to just look like a barren wasteland, but I am an andesitic lava enjoyer. So fuck that. In school, everyone was always like, oh, Pahoehoe lava's the best one. Dude, sometimes shit just has to blow up. Don't call it a barren wasteland just because the lava's not smooth. That's rude. So Frodo and Sam are wandering around this very cool andesitic lava field, and they are lost despite being able to see Mordor. It's easy to see on the horizon because everything's always on fire. Also, the ring is starting to get to Frodo. He's having more like spooky visions of Sauron. I'm not gonna lie, most of what Frodo does in this movie is walk around and have spooky visions of Sauron, and most of what Sam does is walk around watching Frodo have spooky visions of Sauron. Anyway, we're lost, so we stopped at camp for the night. In the middle of the night, our raggedy-ass gremlin dude, Gollum, shows up. He's been following us because he wants the ring. He tries to sneak up and steal the ring while the hobbits are asleep, but low-key, he's stealth 0 because he talks out loud to himself all the time. By the way, if you're wondering why Gollum usually speaks as if he is both parts of a 2-person conversation, it's because he essentially has 2 personalities. One of them is Smeagol, the like river hobbit person that he used to be before he had the ring, and the other one is properly Gollum, like the fucked up creature that the ring has really corrupted. And those 2 personalities are kind of always like not fighting so much as they are just talking to each other, because sometimes they agree and work together and sometimes they don't. Regardless, I guess they can only communicate if they speak out loud. Peter Jackson, the director of the movies, does some cool camera stuff to like separate the 2 personalities for the viewer. Anyway, the talking means that my dude is not very good at sneaking, so Frodo and Sam wake up before Gollum can take the ring. The 3 of them engage in fisticuffs, have at ye, until Frodo has Gollum at sword point. Frodo decides not to kill him, mostly out of pity, but as a bonus, Gollum also knows the way to Mordor, so he becomes like our guide in exchange for us letting him go. We also make him super duper pinky promise not to kill us, which does feel like a foolproof method. Sam fucking hates this arrangement, but they're lost enough that he goes with it. Meanwhile, our besties Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli.
Why did you lock them on that side? I gotta come over.
Have been tailing the Uruk-hai that took Merry and Pippin continuously for 3 days. And nights, which is brutal, especially for Gimli. My guy has short legs. This chase is happening on land that belongs to Rohan, which is one of 2 kingdoms of men that currently exist. We are in fact putting bumfuck nowhere Rohan on the map, because to be honest, we spend a lot of time in bumfuck nowhere Rohan during this movie. Also, the entirety of Rohan looks exactly like this. And red is for Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli. Technically, this chase goes from about here, which is where Boromir died, to here. Anyway, at one point during this chase, we get a good enough vantage point to see where the orcs are going.
They're taking the hobbits to Isengard!
The hobbits. Isengard. Isengard is here, and it's where Saruman lives, in a big-ass tower called Orthanc, which is one of the 2 towers named in the title. Looking at this tower, I think we definitely could have realized that Saruman was evil, like, a while ago. It is nice of villains to always make their alignment clear via their architecture. Anyway, at the moment, Saruman is in Orthanc considering an orb again. Orb still isn't really important, but we do find out that the Uruk-hai army that Saruman has been building is truly enormous. Like, I think that the creation of this army will have drastically shifted global population demographics. In other Isengard news, we see a bunch of orcs cutting down a bunch of trees from the nearby Fangorn forest, which they're using to feed fires in the weird multi-layer pits in the ground where Saruman is making all the orcs and uruks. Many building code violations going on in the weird multi-layer pits in the ground. So, Saruman is making a bunch of orcs at the orc mill to make the orc army bigger. At the same time, he's also enlisting a bunch of men to go pillage towns in Rohan. So, what's going on with that? I'm so glad you asked. It's time to learn more lore. So, as we know, there are two main kingdoms of men that currently exist, Rohan and Gondor. There used to be a third one, but it got whacked, such as life. Arnar Clear. Gondor as a kingdom is much older than Rohan, like 3,000 years older. And it's also much fancier. It was founded by like a fancy race of men. By the way, when I say a race of men, men as a whole is also a race, but there's like subgroups within that. But Gondor was founded by a fancy race of men who were like blessed by the Valar because they helped them out during a particular ancient war. Remember, the Valar are divine beings that are like archangel tier-ish for our purposes. Whoop, whoop. Anyway, Rohan exists on land that used to be part of Gondor. Like, it used to be like all of this is Gondor. But Gondor gave this land to a race of men that came down from the north to fight on Gondor's side during a different particular old war. The issue with that is that obviously there had been indigenous people on this land forever, well before the founding of either of these kingdoms. Gondor was already doing colonization up here, but they were pretty lax about paying attention to who was actually in this area. But then when they gave this land to what would eventually become Rohan, the men from the north drove out everyone who was left. So Gondor was already doing colonization shit, and then also they gave their stolen land to other randos. Life really imitates art, huh? Anyway, the men that Saruman is enlisting to go attack Rohan are from the main indigenous group that Rohan displaced. So it's pretty easy for Saruman to convince them to go pillage because they've hated Rohan for like 500 years. Can't really blame him there. So Saruman is gathering his forces and he's sending them to go fuck up Rohan. Why? Well, of the two kingdoms of men, Rohan is the smaller and weaker one. And if you're gonna conquer the whole continent, you gotta start somewhere. Also, Rohan starts here, which is right next to Isengard, so it's helpful that he can do it in his own backyard. What a convenient commute. At the moment though, in Rohan, a whole bunch of shit is happening. The movie kind of presents it in a weird order, so we're gonna untangle it a bit. There are several relevant players. Clear some space in one of your brain wrinkles. So the king of Rohan is this guy named Theoden. He lives in the capital of the kingdom, which is a city called Edoras. It's down here, it's built on the mountains, it looks very pretty. Instead of calling him King Theoden, everybody calls him Theoden King, which is a fucking, like, linguistics Easter egg. It's a pun between Rohan language and real life Old English. Because unironically, nobody in the history of human language has ever been a bigger linguistics nerd than J.R.R. Tolkien. Straight up, I think he only made up this whole Middle-earth shit because he needed a habitat for all of his pet languages that he made. They're full languages. Like, you can learn them. They have grammar rules and shit. To add to that, I should mention, The Lord of the Rings is written as a pseudo-translation. What that means is that Tolkien is the author. Like, he wrote all these books, but he's pretending that he is in fact just a translator, and that the books are like some ancient text written in Middle-earth languages. So within the framework of the story, the books are actually written by various characters, and Tolkien just found the books and is just translating them into English. Enormous nerd behavior, incredibly impressive, unironically. Anyway, back to Theoden. He's the king of Rohan, and he's also a huge fucking mess at the moment.
That guy had autism for sure.
Advisor named Grima, who is secretly working for Saruman. Over the past several years, Saruman has been using Grima to influence Theoden and therefore influence Rohan. It's a lot of bad advice and psychological manipulation, you know, some seeds of doubt and despair and all that. Also, Grima is straight up just giving him drugs, in the book at least. So now Theoden is like paranoid and feeble and fearful to the point of essentially political paralysis. In the movie, that's still true, like he's still a useless puppet, but they present it more as Saruman is literally directly possessing him. I don't know. The man is ensorcelled, is the point, be that literally or figuratively. The people of Rohan are called the Men of Rohan, or the Rohirrim. That word, by the way, does not just refer to their army, even though the movie kind of acts like it does. It refers to all the people of the kingdom. About their army, though, it's kick-ass. Rohan is famous for their horsemanship, for their collective horse girl status. I'm pretty sure that Rohan actually means, like, land of horse girls, essentially. And Rohirrim means horse girls. Their army has all these sick, like, armored war horses. I'm pretty sure they have no infantry. I think this is a cavalry-only army. And the army is about 2,000 people, so it's pretty solid. One of the commanders of the army is this guy, Eomer. Eomer is one of the commanders of Rohan's army, and he's Theoden's nephew. Eomer also has a sister named Eowyn, so she's Theoden's niece. She does little to nothing in this movie, but she's very cool in the next one. Imagine they actually let a female character be cool in these movies. Their parents died a long time ago, though, so Theoden has since adopted them, and they've been his kids for a while. Theoden also does have a biological son, but he has just died. Like right now. Because with Saruman attacking Rohan, the Rohirrim Horse Girl army keeps having to go out to defend their shit. Theoden's kid gets killed in one of those fights. So we meet this squad for the first time while Eomer is coming back from the fight that killed Theoden's kid. And he's like, Theoden, this fight killed your kid. Theoden doesn't really react. He's too busy despairing and being raggedy. Eomer is also like, by the way, all the guys we're fighting were sent by Saruman. So like, we should probably be concerned about that. And we should really do something about it if we don't want Saruman to destroy all of Rohan. And Grima naturally is like, what? No.
That's crazy. No.
Saruman is so chill and cool. And Theoden is like, oh my god, Grima, you're so right as always. Saruman is so chill and cool. Later, Eomer catches up with Grima and he's like, hey, so you're evil. Obviously. Like, everyone calls you Grima the Worm Tongue.
Grima
which is something you would
Wormtongue.
only call somebody if they were evil. And also you have no eyebrows, which is an evil characteristic. Or it's high fashion, but that's definitely out because you look like you don't wash your face, so you're evil. What's up with that? In the movie, Grima's response to that is to go, you're banned. You're banished.
banned.
Bye. You have to leave the city forever because I said so, and enough of the castle guard is like brainwashed and loyal to me that we will be enforcing that. I hate when the castle guard banishes me. So Eomer is now banished and he leaves the city and he takes the entire Horse Girl army with him.
No.
He's like, well, it's not like I'm banished from the whole kingdom. Like, we might as well keep trying to fight off Saruman. In the book, there is no banishment, and Grima's response is just to imprison Eomer. Classic strat. Later that night, over with Merry and Pippin. The Uruk-hai are tired because they've been doing nothing but running with kidnapped hobbits for 3 days straight. So they stop for a rest just outside Fangorn Forest, which is that forest where Isengard is cutting down a bunch of trees for the orc mill. It's also a spooky forest. The trees seem a little bit evil. Merry and Pippin are going to be purple. Black, by the way, is for Saruman and or Sauron. Evil zone generally. Anyway, we're stopped for a rest. While the Uruks are chilling, they get ambushed by recently banished Eomer and the Horse Girl army. And in the chaos, Merry and Pippin are able to escape into Fangorn Forest. Let's check in with the besties 3, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli. They are running. There's like 8 establishing shots in a row of them just running. So we're still in pursuit of Merry and Pippin then. Anyway, as the besties 3 are running, they run into Eomer and the Rohirrim Horse Girl army. And Aragorn is like, hey, we're tracking a whole bunch of orcs because they stole our hobbits. And Eomer is like, oh, we're actually just coming from slaughtering a whole bunch of orcs last night. And low-key, we left no survivors, so sorry. And the besties are like, well, shit, we can at least go search the battlefield. So Eomer gives them some horses to help them out. Only 2, though. Legolas and Gimli have to share. So the besties 3 pull up to this battlefield, and they're like, well, yeah, everything does look pretty dead and burned and decapitated. There's a very famous, like, behind-the-scenes thing here where Aragorn kicks a helmet that's on the ground, but when he did, the actor Viggo Mortensen broke a toe, and then that is the take that's actually in the final cut of the movie. Ouch, ouch. Youch. Anyway, within about 10 seconds, the besties are like, wait, actually there are hobbit-sized footprints leading away from the fight and into the forest. So maybe we're gonna want to go figure that out. Meanwhile, Merry and Pippin are wandering around in Fangorn Forest and they come across a big-ass talking tree. Which, like, yeah.
Hi, Mom. Hi,
this
Bob.
feels like a pretty logical
We've been
progression.
watching
Maybe
the
first
Lord of the
time
Rings
we
lore
listen to anything New
recap
York-
for, this is episode 2 for about 90 minutes now.
Okay.
Isn't free will crazy?
Right?
Are you gonna tuck these 2 in?
No.
Are you gonna wish them good night? Thank you, by the way, because now they demand to sleep on my bed.
And you don't feel as lonely anymore, do you?
That's not the point.
Kind of expecting that there will eventually be talking trees. If ever there was a story that seems like it would include talking trees, it's this one. Or Narnia, which also includes talking trees. Actually, the talking tree that Merry and Pippin meet is based off of C.S. Lewis, who wrote the Chronicles of Narnia. He and Tolkien were apparently really good friends, and this was Tolkien shitting on him. Anyway, the hobbits meet C.S. Lewis, the talking tree. His actual name is Treebeard, and he's something called an Ent, which is a race of talking trees, if you can believe it. Now, why have I drawn the wispy whatever thing from Kirby? Because for some reason I just didn't print out a picture of the Ents, so I did this instead. The Ents basically exist to be like shepherds of the forests of Middle-earth. In the movie, there's this whole thing where Treebeard briefly thinks that Merry and Pippin are orcs. In the book, he's just like immediately nice to them. Either way, we're friends, and this team now includes Treebeard for
So this is where I stopped reading. I think there's like the longest section. It's just Treebeard and the Ents, and I'm just like, I don't think I can do this anymore.
The foreseeable future. Checking in on Team Ring, we are wandering around in a swamp. So the swamp area is called the Dead Marshes because at one point it was the site of a big battle, so there's a bunch of bog bodies in the vicinity. In the Dead Marshes, there's all these, like, I guess will-o-wisps would be the best term, that are trying to trick people into becoming additional bog bodies. Gollum tells Frodo and Sam to ignore those. In the book, they do. In the movie, they do not. We get through the swamp pretty much fine regardless. At camp one night, Frodo is talking to Gollum, and he's like, remember when you used to be like a real dude, like Smeagol? And Gollum is like, kind of. Before this conversation can progress much, though, a Nazgul flies overhead on this thing called a fell beast. I would say a fell beast looks like a cross between a wyvern and the Alaskan bullworm. Do you see it? So we all have to hide from the Nazgul, and Frodo doesn't really finish talking to Gollum. Honestly, the Alaskan bullwyvern is kind of giving like, hey, I have a plot development. Oh no, TIE fighters, everybody scram. Anyway, back to the good part. The besties 3 have entered Fangorn Forest in pursuit of Merry and Pippin. The lighting in Fangorn Forest makes Orlando Bloom's color contacts look really bad. They already looked really bad, it makes them look worse. I understand that in the book Legolas has blue or green eyes or whatever, but blue color contacts never look realistic. They always look like that blue eye filter people use on TikTok. This is one of the prettiest people on Earth. Can we just leave him like that? In the forest though, a super bright spooky white light appears and then fades to reveal Gandalf. Everybody please welcome back to the board Gandalf, as well as Sir Ian McKellen, an icon. We do love you. Everybody's like, oh, hey big dog, thought you died in the last movie. And Gandalf is like, yeah, well, so I fought that Balrog and I killed it, but it also killed me, but then I got better because various like divine beings decided that my task was incomplete, so they sent me back. If you're wondering why that's allowed, it's because Gandalf is a wizard and wizards are Maiar, if you recall. Like we said in the last video, Maiar are about equivalent in the divinity hierarchy to angels, and they have like similarly nebulous rules. In the context of Abrahamic religions, it's like an angel died and God decided to bring it back to life. We don't know the rules, but if somebody said that, we'd all be like, yeah, that's probably allowed. I'm not at all religious, but I will say that I have always pictured heaven as fairy world from Fairly Odd Parents. Notably though, Gandalf is no longer Gandalf the Grey. Now he's Gandalf the White. And that is shade to Saruman, actually. Because Saruman is supposed to be the White Wizard and the leader of the wizards. But by having Gandalf be reborn as the White Wizard, the other divine beings are stripping Saruman of his rank because he's working with Sauron. Regardless, Gandalf is back, and also he has like a magic horse now. The name of the horse is Shadowfax, which is a warrior cat's ass name, and he is the lord of all horses. I know the girlies in Rohan are jealous. Also, Gandalf tells the besties that he ran into Merry and Pippin and they're safe with the Ents, so that's one less thing to worry about. Meanwhile, with Team Ring, we have made it to the edge of Mordor, which is the Doom Eternal level where Sauron lives. However, Mordor is a gated community. The gates of Mordor are here. They're called the Black Gate or Moranin, and lucky for us, the gate is open at the moment because a whole bunch of Sauron soldiers are marching inside. We're about to sneak in after them when Gollum stops us and is like, hey, what are you doing? You can't just walk in the front door. You're gonna bring the ring straight to Sauron. In the book, Sam and Gollum have an argument where Sam is like, dude, if we can't get in this way, why did you bring us here? And Gollum's like, anime tier logic is like, well, I only agreed to bring you to the gate. I never said we should go in this way. And they're like, okay, well, is there another path? And Gollum's like, yeah, several. And Frodo and Sam are like, why didn't you mention those before? And Gollum was like, well, you never asked. Fuck off. You never asked is like peak anime visual novel bullshit. I wonder how many times that phrase comes up in Ace Attorney alone. Anyway, the point is we can go another way, so we agree to do that. From here, we're going to switch over to the Besties 3 and Gandalf, but first, we're going to take a brief intermission where I will
What is this background picture up here?
Because it will be tomorrow. Good morning. We continue to be so back. Okay, checking in with the Besties 3 and Gandalf, we are making our way back to Edoras, the capital of Rohan, where we plan to tell Theoden to get his shit together.
I really think she had to script this whole thing out. This is off the top of the head, man. You're legit OP, bro. You're too good.
Together. Because at the moment, his kingdom is really
this is a good script, too.
We gotta get on it. So the four of them pull up to Edoras, where everyone looks super depressed, and
why can't you teach? Like, where were you when I was in school, man? I would listen to you talk about shit for hours.
It's like, hey, so we're here to see the king. And the guards are like, okay, but you have to leave your weapons outside, including your staff. And Gandalf calls elder abuse, and he's like, bro, I need my walking stick, or I'm gonna fall over, and they haven't invented Life Alert yet, so that'll be on you. So they do let him keep it, and we go visit Theoden. The following is an event that's pretty different between the movie and the book because of things that we've already set up. In the movie, Theoden is like literally possessed by Saruman, so Gandalf has to do some vague Tolkien wizard shit. Dispel magic at 5th level so you don't have to roll for it. It doesn't work? Oh, because it's not Dominate Person, it's Gesh, obviously. Dominate Person only has a 60-second duration, but Gesh can be upcast to have infinite duration, you dumbass. Hit him with the Greater Restoration. You probably should have started with that, especially if you were gonna burn a 5th level spell slot anyway. Theoden is back to normal. Wait, do wizards get Greater Restoration? Why don't I know that? They do not.
No,
This
it's
is a wrench in my
cleric.
plan. I'm deciding that Gandalf is some kind of multi-class that gives him Greater Restoration. You're a divine being, right? That makes you kind of cleric-y. In the book, Theoden is not literally possessed, he's just real sad. Gandalf's solution to this is to open the windows and have him like stand up and walk around and stuff. And that is how you cure depression. I don't know how that fixes the part where Grima was literally giving him drugs, but so be it. Regardless, Theoden is better now, so let's get his better picture up here. His first act as non-Raggedy Theoden is to banish Grima from Rohan, which, like, seems like a bad idea to let that guy go. He knows all of our shit and is loyal to one of our biggest enemies. Like, I feel like it's counterproductive to have him just out and about. Grima's getting banished. We're moving him over here to the
At least
evil
throw him,
side.
like, in a
Everyone
jail
else is
cell.
getting rearranged. Theoden's irrelevant dead son gets buried. We do a lot of talking about our forefathers, etc. Okay, from here, the movie diverges pretty significantly from the book for a while. This is kind of odd, but we're going to talk about the logistics of this section for both the book and the movie. And then we'll loop back and talk
Okay.
more about the characters in just the movie. It'll make sense. In the book, Theoden banishes Grima, and then he's immediately on the warpath. He releases Éomer from the dungeons, and he's like, sorry about that. What's the sitch? What all did the Horse Girl army get up to while I was being raggedy? And Éomer is like, yeah, no worries. So remember when your
Yeah,
son
no
died
worries.
in that one battle? We won that battle, and we still have men up there who are holding that area, which is really important. Ready to play Risk? That area, which is right here, is a river crossing, and it's Saruman's only reasonable access point to get a full-scale army from Isengard into Rohan. So we really need to hold that line. But our numbers are very diminished over there because a lot of not your son people died in the fighting. So it would be helpful if we could send some reinforcements up to the river crossing. Theoden is like, well, that does sound reasonable. So we grab about 2,000-ish, that number's up for debate, Horse Girl soldiers, plus our besties 3, Gandalf, Theoden, and Éomer, and we head out to go help. I can't remember where Éowyn is, she's not with us though. I think she's just staying at Edoras. So this company, including the 2,000 Horse Girl soldiers, is starting at Edoras and making their way up here to the river crossing. On our way there though, we find out that another battle did break out at the river and Rohan lost. We're no longer holding the crossing, which is bad because now there's nothing stopping Saruman's forces from pressing forward into Rohan.
Yeah.
And once they're over the river crossing, we absolutely do not have the numbers to fight them on open terrain, which is where we would be. So time to improvise. We're gonna split up. Gandalf is gonna run around the kingdom and try to rally as many additional troops as possible because he has the warrior cat's horse, which is really fast. The rest of us are gonna change course and head for Helm's Deep, which is this big ass gorge in the mountains in between Edoras and the river crossing access point. At Helm's Deep, there's a giant round fortress called the Hornburg that backs up to the gorge. I love a round fortress, bro. You would not catch me dead in a square fortress during a siege. The Hornburg is a highly defensible position, and with our numbers, it is absolutely our only shot at even considering winning a fight against Saruman. In the book, everyone agrees on that. We are under no delusions about our chances here. So we divert course, we bring our battalion of horse girls to Helm's Deep, and there we find about another 1,000-ish horse girl soldiers that are just garrisoned at the Hornburg. Y'all really probably could have helped at the river fight, but whatever. So now we have about 3,000 horse girls, which takes us from a battalion to a brigade. Nice. When Saruman's forces advance
Nice.
far enough to reach Helm's Deep, there's a battle, famously. In that battle, Aragorn and Éomer act as generals. And towards the end of the battle, when Gandalf comes back with reinforcements, it is about another 1,000 Rohirrim horse girl soldiers. That's what
Okay.
happens in the book. Now, moving on to
Yeah, it's like real different from what happened in the movies where they just kind of fought and then they were like, we should probably go to Helm's Deep.
what happens in the movie. Going way back, Theoden banishes Grima. But in this version, Éomer was banished earlier, so he's not here to be released from the dungeons and
Oh,
to
yeah,
explain
yeah,
everything
that's
about
right.
the battle at the river crossing. And crucially, if you recall, all the horse girls went with him, so we also have no army. Later that evening, 2 kids from a different town in Rohan pull up to Edoras looking for help. Their town has been destroyed, and they're here to be a plot device to instigate a conversation amongst our main characters about the fact that we're like mid-invasion and should probably do something about it. They're also here to make sure that at least one of these movies passes the Bechdel test. Aragorn and Gandalf then for some reason try to convince Theoden that the best course of action here would be to get Éomer and the Horse Girls back here and then ride out and fight Saruman head on, which is an absolutely brain dead play. At the moment, these characters don't know exactly how big Saruman's army is, but they do know that it's massive, like larger than anything they could fathom. And we as the viewers know that it's tens of thousands of soldiers. The Horse Girl army number about 2,000, but that doesn't even matter because they're not here. They left with Éomer. Aragorn's plan here involves calling them all back. And Theoden is like, well, based on when Éomer left, he'll be 300 leagues away by now. Which, like, how did he get so far away? When did he leave? But assuming he is that far away, I did the math. By the kindest of estimates, like ancient Roman leagues, Arabian horses, completely flat land, it would take Éomer at least 8 days to get all the way back here. Theoden is like, we can't rely on Éomer, and everybody acts like he's a dumbass for thinking that. He's right. We simply do not have the time to wait for him and his horse girls. But without them, according to the movie, we have 300 total men, which admittedly worked pretty well one time in the past. Helm's Deep is our only option, even more so than it was in the book. So Theoden, making an eminently reasonable move, decides that we're gonna go to Helm's Deep. The movie then proceeds to act like Theoden is a coward for going to Helm's Deep.
Who will defend them if not their king?
Hello? What are you talking about? You're weird for being like, well, it's more honorable if you ride out and fight them head on. Honor really doesn't keep us from getting stabbed, is the thing. I'm talking to a photograph right now. Regardless, we're going to Helm's Deep, even though everybody's pressed about it for no reason. Then Gandalf is like, okay, fuck this. I'm gonna go out on a quest. I'll meet up with y'all in a few days. In the movie, he doesn't tell us what the quest is, but it's the same as in the book. He's going out to find reinforcements. And the rest of us get going to Helm's Deep. In this version, Éowyn does come with us just so that Theoden can tell her that she's not allowed to fight.
I can fight!
No!
Great stuff over here. So we get to the Hornburg, we set up our 300 guys, and then, like, 1,000 elves pull up from Lothlorien.
Holy!
Which, again, like, when did they leave to be arriving here now? Lothlorien is so far away from here. We only found out about the incoming siege like 2 days ago. You guys are walking. How did you get here so fast? Look, maybe I'm annoying for thinking this, but if we're gonna do like large-scale war stuff, we have to at least kind of pay attention to logistics. Trust me, dude, I'm American. I'm familiar with brain-dead logistics. You ever been to Gettysburg? Anyway, we now have 1,000 elves who are randos. Aragorn acts as a general during this battle by himself, and then at the end of this fight, when Gandalf arrives with reinforcements, the reinforcements are Éomer and his 2,000 horse girls. So to summarize, in the book, the forces fighting at Helm's Deep are the 2,000-ish horse girls that Theoden brought, plus the 1,000-ish horse girls that were already garrisoned at the fortress. They're led by Aragorn and Éomer, and then they are later joined by an additional 1,000-ish horse girls via Gandalf, for a total of about 4,000 troops. But regardless of numbers, everyone involved is horse girls or besties, who at the moment count as horse girls. In the movie, the people at Helm's Deep are the 300 raggedy civilian horse girls that Theoden brought, plus 1,000 random elves from Lothlorien. Aragorn is leading them by himself, and later Éomer and his 2,000 horse girls pull up via Gandalf, for a total of about 3,300
You gotta stop calling them
of which
horse
are men from
girls.
Rohan, and 1,000 of which are elves from Lothlorien. Wildly different demographics between the movie and the book, but in both, the outcome of the battle at Helm's Deep is the same. So why the weird discrepancies if we're just gonna end up in the same situation? Why the elves? Why the diminished troops? Why the whole treating Theoden like a coward thing? Well, like we said in the previous video, the movies choose to portray the race of men much more negatively than the books do, which does muddy a bunch of motivations and logic when it comes to Helm's Deep. The movie does this weird balancing act where it wants Theoden to be wrong and cowardly so that Aragorn and Gandalf appear very wise and heroic. So they tell Theoden that he should ride out and meet Saruman head on, and he responds in a way that makes him seem too like chicken shit to do that. I gotta say, the mindset of like, what, are you scared, is not really productive. We're at war. The reality of the situation is that Aragorn and Gandalf were wrong to make that suggestion, but the movie refuses to let them be wrong or to let Theoden be right because it's trying to portray Aragorn as awesome and the savior of mankind and all other humans as weak and cowardly. But despite their suggestion being treated as the right answer, we do still need to be at Helm's Deep in order to win the fight, because it continues to be true that Theoden's army would have been obliterated if they had fought head on. So we end up in this weird situation where it feels like everyone is committing really hard to a plan that they think won't work, which is really not how we've characterized these people up to this point. Anyway, sticking with the movie again, let's discuss other non-logistical things that happened during this
Yeah,
section.
they present Helm's Deep as like a suicide. It's like they know this isn't gonna work, and it's a long shot if it does, but let's still go through it. Oh my god, there's a part 3.
Then we'll talk about who's doing what during the actual battle at Helm's Deep. Before we leave Edoras for Helm's Deep, Arwen... Where's Arwen? Do I even have a photo of Arwen? Arwen visits Aragorn in a dream to remind us that she exists, and also to cry prettily and delicately, because that's her main activity. And then as we're en route to Helm's Deep, Éowyn, like, spontaneously has a thing for Aragorn. Don't know where that came from, don't really care. Oh, also on the way to Helm's Deep, a bunch of orcs show up, and we have to fight them, which eventually results in Aragorn getting chucked off a cliff and falling into a river for a while, and everybody thinks he's dead, but he's not, which gets like immediately resolved. He just meets us at the fortress like a day late. When Aragorn gets chucked off the cliff into the river, he has more Arwen dreams. I continue to not care. None of the orc fight or the presumed dead or the Arwen dreams happens in the book. Also, we learn that Grima, after we let him go, went straight back to Saruman and told him like all of our secrets, because of course he did. That's why you don't let that guy go. Grima tells Saruman that the Hornburg, like the fortress, is basically impenetrable, but it does have one weakness, which is like a little drain culvert at the bottom of the front wall. In response to that, Saruman, I think, invents gunpowder. Like, he makes a powder that is explosive, and the movie really implies that such a thing has not been made before now. So, opening the door for the Hobbits with Guns spin-off, that I think would be pretty good. Saruman's plan is to breach the wall at the Hornburg by blowing up that culvert weak point. Everything I just said is stuff that happens between leaving for Helm's Deep and starting the actual battle at Helm's Deep. So when we come back to this plotline, it'll be at the start of the battle, but it'll be fun stuff now because we've already done logistics. You do logistics first and elf skateboarding second. We've spent a long time with the besties, so let's check in with Frodo, Sam, and Gollum. They're doing what they've been doing, which is walking around and trying to find a way into Mordor other than the Black Gate. Frodo is very nice to Gollum, largely because he's like, oh shit, that could totally be me if I hold on to the ring for too long. And Frodo's kindness, beyond just being a nice thing to do, is actually helpful because it connects more with the Smeagol side of Gollum, so that side is able to kind of win out for a while and tell the Gollum side to fuck off. So he's like actually loyal to us now, which is nice. In the movie, Frodo starts being kind of a dick, and Sam is like, hey dude, the ring is starting to get to you, and Frodo is like, no, fuck you, I hate you, you're the worst person I've ever met. In the book, he never yells at Sam, or forsakes him in any way, actually. But, I don't know, building tension. Anyway, we hear weird sounds approaching, so we don't hide, but we're able to see.
Is that true? I never got that far in the books. Like I said, I stopped at the treants. So it was so long in the treants.
Of unfamiliar men marching towards Mordor. Who are these men? Well, they come from a group in the far south of Middle-earth that was here before Gondor and subsequently has beef with them. So they're down to squad up with Mordor to fuck over Gondor. Also, they have these things that are basically elephants, but like 50 plus feet tall. They're like war elephants, which is sick. Technically, they're called Olifants or Mumakil. We're gonna go ahead and call them big elephants. They don't come up again in this movie, though. Have you ever touched an elephant? I touched an elephant for the first time recently, and the texture was not what I was expecting. I don't know why I was anticipating a smoother elephant, which was not what I got. They feel very much like trees. As we're watching the army, they suddenly get attacked by a bunch of spooky hooded archers. And just as we're being like, hey, wait, what's going on? The spooky hooded archers also find us. Frodo and Sam get snatched and taken captive. Gollum, for the moment, has evaded capture, we think, and we're off to wherever the archers are taking us. Field trip. Around this time, we also have a brief interlude in Rivendell for some reason. We don't have Rivendell on the map because it's irrelevant to this movie, but it would be like up here-ish. In Rivendell, we have to deal with Arwen again, so I guess we're putting her on the board. And we also have to deal with her dad, Elrond. In Rivendell...
Yeah, weren't they like, hey, it's time for us to leave this land and go back to, like, heaven? And she decides to stay.
Rivendell, Arwen is thinking about Aragorn because he's of course the only thing she ever thinks about. That and how she can cry even more prettily and delicately and often. Elrond pulls up and he's like, Arwen, it's time to decide whether or not you want to go to Valinor. What is Valinor? Well, it's one of the most annoying concepts in the entire story. But generally speaking, Valinor is the place where the Valar live. This should probably be pronounced Valar, but whatever. I'm also realizing that I didn't print out a picture of Valinor, so I'm gonna write the word Valinor on the board and then I'm gonna point at that and you're just gonna pretend that you can see it. Isn't it beautiful? It's probably kind of like Fairy World. So Valinor is the place where the Valar live. Remember, Valar are like archangels for our purposes. Valinor is kind of in a different dimension than Middle-earth. That's a pretty close analogy. Like, it is a physical place and it is still on the planet, but it's completely separated from the outside world because the Valar can just kind of decide who gets in and who doesn't. They have pretty much complete control over everything that goes on over here. Technically speaking, it's another continent to the west of Middle-earth. For practical purposes, though, it's a plane of immortals living in eternal paradise, etc. So the Valar live in Valinor. Elves can also go to Valinor. Why? Well, when the elves were first created, there was a bunch of crazy shit going down on Middle-earth, so the Valar were like, hey, elves, you guys should all come live in Valinor with us. Why did the Valar give that privilege to the elves? The Valar really like the elves. Like, straight up, that's the reason. They think they're really pretty. So some elves went to Valinor, some decided to stay in Middle-earth, some went to Valinor and then came back to Middle-earth because they got exiled, etc. Regardless of where they are, like of which plane they're on, all elves are immortal unless they're killed. That's just an elf feature. The problem is that Middle-earth is a mortal plane. Things grow and live and die and change a lot, which is not something that elves deal very well with. Also, due to some of the crazy shit that was going on when the elves were first created and the Valar were like, do you guys want to come live in Valinor, etc. There's like evil still living in the earth of Middle-earth, and that like causes their bodies to slowly deteriorate even though their souls never do because they're immortal, which means they can eventually become like spooky wraith things. Not great. The point is, over time, it has become clear that the elves kind of don't belong in Middle-earth. It's a mortal place, and mortality is the gift of men. But in Valinor, everything is just like stagnant forever, which is what they want, I guess. Also, they won't become spooky wraiths over there. So a long time ago, a bunch of the elves were like, hey, Valar, do you guys remember that one time you told us we could come live in Valinor? Does that invite still stand? Apparently it does. So elves have started kind of undertaking this pilgrimage to Valinor in increasingly greater numbers. However, due to travel restrictions imposed by the Valar, if you come to Valinor, you can never again leave. That's a one-way trip. But also, if they stay in Middle-earth, things will just continue to get more fucked up for them. Now, you may be wondering, why put the elves on Middle-earth at all if they're just gonna have to leave? Why put immortal creatures on a mortal plane? Well, now you're getting into the issue of what elves' purpose is in this world, and that's a question for a literature class that is entirely about Tolkien. So we're gonna move on. Now, looping back, why is Elrond asking Arwen if she's made a decision Ari Valinor? Well, it's because actually, fuck everything I just said, the rules don't apply to this family specifically. And that's because Elrond is actually a half-elf, not a full elf. He just has a lot of shit going on in his family tree, I guess. As a result of that, he was apparently allowed to choose whether he wanted to be effectively an elf or effectively a man. The Valar told him he could pick. He chose to be an elf, which means that he has committed to existing until the end of time. You do you, man. Anyway, Elrond is Arwen's biological father, which means that she, by extension, is also not fully an elf. So she also gets to choose. In the movie, he tries really hard to convince her to choose elf and come to Valinor with him, even though she wants to stay so she can be with Aragorn, because all of her decisions, of course, revolve around Aragorn. Mostly his reasoning is like, well, Aragorn will die way before you. You'll just keep living forever without him, and it'll be terrible because the only reason you exist is to hang out with Aragorn. But that's confusing because that would only be the case if she chooses elf and then doesn't go to Valinor. Like, she chooses elf and then stays on Middle-earth with Aragorn, because then he would die and she would keep living forever. But if she chooses human and stays on Middle-earth, then she's just a human on Middle-earth, which is also what Aragorn is. Regardless, in the book, she made the decision to stay on Middle-earth like 40 years before now, and Elrond has always been like, okay, yeah, that's your choice. Also, you might be wondering, why is this decision urgent? Do we have to go to Valinor like right now? No. We can do it whenever we want. And in the book, he does it several years from now. Also, Arwen cries more during this conversation. Don't worry, it's still pretty and delicate. We have to move on before I freak out. Over with Frodo and Sam, we find out that the archers who kidnapped us are actually soldiers from Gondor.
I don't remember her crying that much in the movie, so this is hilarious.
And they put us in a cave holding cell thing for a bit. Eventually, someone comes to speak with us, and it is this guy, Faramir. He introduces himself as a captain of Gondor, and his whole shit is very different between the book and the movie, but we'll get to that. Faramir is like, hey, wasn't there a third person with you guys? And Frodo and Sam are like, no. They do tell him who they are, but not about the ring. And they're like, yeah, we were traveling with all these people, including two men like you. A man named Aragorn and a man named Boromir. And Faramir's like, oh, you guys know Boromir? Well, he was my older brother. Can you potentially tell me why he's dead? But Frodo and Sam split from the Fellowship before Boromir died, so they didn't actually know that. And they're like, no. Anyway, Gollum gets found in another cave and Faramir threatens to kill him. And Frodo is like, no, don't, he's with me. And Faramir is like, well, help me trap him or I'll kill him anyway. So Frodo tricks Gollum into a trap. Like, he's like, hey, buddy, come over here for like an unsuspicious reason. And then Faramir's men are like, zhwoop. That was a bag over the head. You just couldn't really tell. This makes Gollum very upset. He's talking to himself and everything, as he is wont.
Master's betrayed us
to do. And via that, Faramir finds out that Frodo has the ring, because Gollum says that Frodo has the ring, which is a pretty surefire way to get caught. So Faramir goes to Frodo and Sam and he's like, hey, so heard you got that ring? It's mine now, because Gondor needs it real bad. So I'm gonna take y'all to my father, who is the guy in charge of Gondor. And it's like, wow, humans suck and they're so easily corrupted by power, blah, 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 blah. That is what happens in the movie. In the book, all three of them get caught together at the start. Faramir briefly brings them to a holding area and is like, what are y'all doing out here? And when they get to the part of the conversation about Boromir, Sam kind of blurts out that Boromir tried to steal something from Frodo. He's not super specific about it, but Faramir had enough information from Boromir that he puts the pieces together. And then he goes, oh, well, I'm not tempted by the ring because I'm a very humble and wise and down-to-earth and kind person. And I recognize that destroying it is really important. So I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all go. Good luck. And then he does let them go. That's it. Movie's back on human hate. Anyway, back to fun stuff. We are with the Besties 3 at Helm.
I didn't know they skewed the movies in such like weird ways. Like, I would have just gone with the books story there, but I guess they wanted more of like Faramir to like force like get more screen time, get more character. They probably had to. They probably did all this because they needed padding. Although the movies were long as fuck, so I have no idea.
Deep, and it's finally time for the battle to start. I know I talked a lot of shit about the movie version of Helm's Deep in terms of logistics a minute ago. However, in terms of literally everything else, the battle is way better in the movie than it is in the book. In the book, I think it's only like 6 pages or something. It's like kind of
Really? Oh my god. That's so short.
the bulk of the movie. This kicks so much ass. I would just straight up show you the whole thing, but YouTube probably wouldn't like that.
Actually, I can barely show you anything because YouTube got mad at me.
So we're just gonna hit some highlights. We have an absolutely iconic wait for the advancing army scene.
True.
So it begins.
We have the Mad Max Olympic torchbearer guy.
Oh, hey.
We have goofy competition over violent deaths.
I'm on 17!
We have the Mark Antony Testudo formation. That's huge for me. We have many, many incredibly stupid moves followed by plot armor saves.
Plot armor!
Meanwhile, over in Fangorn Forest with Merry and Pippin and Treebeard, yeah, remember them? The Ents are having a meeting about whether or not they want to go to war. The meeting lasts for like 3 days because apparently it takes forever to say anything in Ent language. In the book, they go to this meeting and they decide, yeah, we are going to go to war. Settled. In the movie, the Ents decide that they do not want to go to war, and the hobbits are unable to convince them otherwise. So Treebeard starts taking Merry and Pippin home back to the Shire, which has them walking west. But then Pippin has an idea and he's like, actually, take us south, which would mean that we'll go right by Isengard. And Pippin's like, well, we'll be safest if we pass by Isengard because it's the last place Saruman will look. And Treebeard is like, okay, whatever, we'll go that way. But really, this is a devious trick. And Pippin was asked to go this way because it'll take us over to that section of Fangorn Forest by Isengard that Saruman has been cutting down to feed the fires in the Orc Mill. So when they get there and they see the rampant deforestation, Treebeard is like, wait, what the fuck? Okay, just kidding, the Ents are going to war. Just like in the book, but with extra steps. Back at Helm's Deep, Legolas is skateboarding down a staircase on an orc shield for straight up no reason.
Because it's cool as fuck.
He gains no tactical advantage from this. If anything, it's actively slowing him down. I wish there were ranks of divas. Legolas goes to the top. Also, Theoden joins the fight and gets hurt immediately. Literally seconds. Instantly back on the bench. Truly so brutal. And not a great addition, given that we've been calling this guy a coward for the entire movie.
Yeah.
The fight starts looking pretty dicey, not great for us. But then, when the world needed him most, Gandalf. With reinforcements, which remember in the movie is Éomer and 2,000 horse girls. And they're coming in from the other side of Saruman's army, so the orcs are now surrounded, which allows us to turn the tides and eventually win the battle. The orcs retreat into a forest next to Helm's Deep, where some angry trees that are kind of sentient but are not Ents rip them to shreds, which I think only happens in the extended edition of the movie. In the book, though, there's a great scene where everyone's like, dude, this forest was not here yesterday. Gandalf, did you do like crazy magic? And Gandalf is like, no, I didn't. I have no idea where these trees came from. With that, we end the Besties 3's plotline in this movie. At the same time, the Ents are going to war. What they mean by that is they're gonna go fuck up Isengard. The timing here is an accident, but it's very helpful because the Ents happen to attack Isengard at the same time as the battle is happening at Helm's Deep, which means there are very few troops in Isengard to oppose them. So they fuck it up, and the scale at which they fuck it up has me thinking, holy shit, we should be having Ents fight all of our battles.
But they're shepherds, so
This is so much
they
more
wouldn't really
efficient than
care.
anything else we've done. The Ents walk in, kick the shit out of everything in like 4 minutes, and then their big finishing move is that they rip open a dam that has been diverting a river out of Isengard. And with the river free, it floods Saruman's whole compound. This is why you shouldn't build your orc mills in the weird multi-layer pits in the ground, especially if you know that there's a kind of shady looking dam keeping an entire river away. Anyway, Isengard is now effectively destroyed. Huge shout out to the Ents for that. Although Saruman's actual tower, Orthanc, which is
Shout
in
out
the
to
middle
the
of
Ents.
Isengard, is still standing and he's hiding in there somewhere. Merry and Pippin help in the fight by sitting in Treebeard's branches as they have been doing for the entire movie
And throwing
checking
rocks.
at people. Slay? Question mark? After the fucking up of Isengard,
Little goblins.
Merry and Pippin decide to sit and chill for a second, in hopes that the Besties 3 will come along and find them because they know that Gandalf knows that they're with the Ents. So Merry and Pippin's plotline in this movie ends here, which just leaves us with Team Ring doing shit that they would not have been doing in the book because
Amazing.
Faramir doesn't, like, do the second stage kidnapping in the book. Anyway, Faramir is in the process of taking the hobbits and Gollum to the capital of Gondor so that he can deliver the ring to his father. Faramir still refuses to let them go, and finally Sam is like, yeah, well, your brother fucking died because he was too obsessed with the ring, which is kind of what you're doing right now. So, think about that. And maybe Faramir is starting to think about that, but who knows? Because suddenly, Nazgul pulls up on an Alaskan bull wyvern. Oh no, TIE fighters, everybody scram! Somehow Palpatine returned. I'll never get over that. So the Nazgul pulls up, and the ring is like, ooh, this is a good opportunity for me to get back to Sauron. So it like heavily influences
Dude.
Frodo for a second, and he almost just gives the ring directly to the Nazgul, but
She gets a
Sam
follow,
shows up
bro.
and fucking suplexes him.
Bugfish. He's
And
funny
then they
as
fall down
fucking
some
hell.
Stairs, so they're kind of out of the way, and then everyone can start shooting arrows at the Alaskan bull wyvern, so we're good. Suplexing your problems works, is what we've learned. Anyway,
True.
Frodo goes crazy mode for a second and almost stabs Sam, but then he doesn't, so that's huge. And when Frodo kind of snaps out of it, he's like, dude, what are we doing here? This sucks. I'm not having a good time. I don't want to do this. Standard
go
collegiate
home.
crash out, right? And Sam gives him an honestly really good pep talk.
Folk in those stories had lots of chances of turning back, only they didn't.
Really good. He's the mom friend for sure. And then they start playing the Shire music, which is an emotional attack against me specifically. Faramir also hears the pep talk, and he's like, fuck, that was a really good pep talk. Okay, now I have to let you go. Which is true. Those are the rules. So he lets him go. And he has an admittedly really kick-ass line here.
If you let them go, your life will be forfeit.
Religious forfeit.
Because he is a cool character, and he will be cool in the next movie, but for some reason in this movie he's an ass. So, Frodo and Sam and Gollum are free, and they continue their journey. However, we hear from Gollum for a second. He's very upset that Frodo tricked him to let Faramir capture him. His Gollum side and his Smeagol side have been discussing it, and now they agree that they're gonna go ahead and conspire against the hobbits from here on out. And that ends Team Ring's plotline in this movie. So that brings us to the end of the Two Towers. Quick final stats. Merry and Pippin are chilling in destroyed Isengard, waiting for the Besties
Smoking
to come find
and
them. The
eating.
Besties 3, Gandalf, Theoden, and the Horse Girls are leaving Helm's Deep and making their way to Isengard so they can fight Saruman. They don't know that Isengard is already destroyed. They're just going now because they figure that with his army destroyed at Helm's Deep, Saruman will be at his most vulnerable. And Frodo, Sam, and Gollum are still wandering around trying to find a non-Blackgate way into Mordor. We will pick up here in the next and last movie, Return of the King. Thanks so much for hanging out. My other socials are in the description. My Patreon is there too if you want to support me and get some cool rewards.
she
For this
is
video,
so
it'll
good.
mostly be blue.
This is like, I can't believe, one, I got the golden YouTube poll of finding this, and two, it's such a good video. This is not what I expected to be doing with my night, but I'm so happy that I am. Can y'all give me 1 second while I do my German? Tatanka. All right, German complete. Do you know we've come so far? I want to check up on the boys.
Lizard.
Again.
Something coins for it.
Hey, do you want
I
to?
gotta get
You want to play a game?
what game?
I was thinking about Arc Raiders.
Oh, I want to.
Yeah, I'll play around Arc Raiders.
When?
I don't know when you want to play.
How long are you gonna be on?
It depends on how many tails I get.
What does that mean?
Oh, 3? Damn.
What does that mean?
What do you mean? Watch my stream.
Like on Discord?
Yeah, it's
on
an app you're
Twitch.
using.
Wait, are you playing the competitive coin flip game?
It's not competitive. Damn.
There was like an esports coin flip game.
Oh yeah, you told me about that. Or somebody told me about it.
Who else? It had to be me.
We just make a party.
Yep. For now.
I have to get 10 heads in a
Sure.
row.
That's not possible.
What do you mean? It's possible. Might not be probable.
Until you make more money.
True. Look at that. I got almost $6. And I can upgrade my coin.
So I've been watching a 3-part series about all the stuff that they left out of the Lord of the Rings movie or added.
Yeah, but that one lady. Bugfish. or
Bugfish.
something.
Oh my god, you know it.
I've watched them.
Dude, it's so good.
Yeah.
I was about to start part 3.
I am.
Oh, you're only on part 2?
Yeah.
You can watch it. I'm sure I'll be here 40 minutes.
Okay. come get me when you're ready to play.
Okay.
Lizard.
Okay, cat.
MJ, I want to
Okay,
talk
chat.
about Lord of the Rings. Again. And back again. You might notice that this video is very strangely lit. That would be due to this, which is dead. So I'm using 3 lamps instead. Don't you
Hell
love these,
yeah.
like, constant technical difficulties? They're not even difficulties. They're just the fact that I don't know how to do any of this. Lighting crazy. We're gonna have to deal. Okay. This video is part 3. It's a recap of the 3rd Lord of the Rings movie, Return of the King, but we're gonna add the lore that the movie skipped, filling contextual gaps. If you're watching this video and you haven't seen the first 2 recaps, you should probably watch those, because for this one, we're gonna have to reference a bunch of stuff that happened during the other movies. Also, this movie is 4.5 hours long. The extended edition is, anyway. Lord of the Rings fans will murder you if you ever want to watch the theatrical versions of the movies, which are a bit shorter, despite still being 3 to 3.5 hour long films. But I'm gonna be so honest right now, and I'm awaiting my imminent murder. For the first 2 movies, the extended stuff is gratuitous. Patently. That's why it's not in the theatrical cuts of the movies. It's not required in order to understand the story. However, in Return of the King, for some reason, a lot of the scenes that were added for the extended edition kind of are required to understand the story. Like, in order for the sequence of events to make sense. Without them, it is a lot of, when did they get on these boats? Is that guy dead or not? How do these 2 people know each other? Why would that just be sitting in the water? This to say that in the past 2 videos, I've been operating more based on the theatrical editions. In this one, we are going to use the extended edition. Also, because this movie is so long, we're not going to take as many asides for shit that happens in the book, but not in the movies. So, quick recap of who is where. At the start of this movie, we have 3 separate teams. Ignore these guys for now. But 2 of them are going to combine basically right away. Regardless, at the moment, we have Team Besties and Horse Girls, which consists of Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli, and Gandalf, Gandalf from the original Fellowship, and then Theoden and Eomer, who are men of Rohan, which we have been referring to as Horse Girls. Because that's what they are. Eowyn is listed as being in this team because she's basically attached to these two, but she's not physically with us right now. This group starts the movie by pulling up to Isengard, which is here, where they immediately meet up with Team Ents. Oh, I forgot to draw the Ents again. They are pretty forgettable. They're also barely in this movie, so it's fine. Anyway, Team Ents is Merry, Pippin, and Treebeard, who are just chilling in Isengard. And then finally we have Team Ring, which is Frodo, Sam, and Gollum, who spent the last book and movie wandering around trying to find a way into Mordor, which is what they are currently still doing. This group is our villains, this group is our irrelevant elves, and this is Faramir, who had captured Frodo, Sam, and Gollum, but he just let them go, so they've just left him. And now he's by himself doing something we don't know. We open Return of the King by seeing how Gollum got the ring and became Gollum. Before, he was a regular dude named Smeagol, and we already talked about that in the first video. But long story short, 500-ish years ago, Smeagol is fishing with his cousin. The cousin's name is Deagle. That doesn't matter at all. Deagle sucks at fishing and also sucks at picking things up. You don't need to grab the whole dirt. You're disturbing the benthic ecosystem. Deagle, the cousin, sees the ring in the river, where it has been since it... Oh, Isildur. I no longer have a picture of Isildur. New strat, genius. This is what I get for moving in the middle of a video series. Anyway, remember, Isildur was a fancy king of men a really long time ago. He had the ring for a while, etc. So Deagle sees the ring in the river, where it has been since it abandoned Isildur during an orc ambush like 2,500 years ago. So Deagle grabs the ring, and again, also like half of the fucking riverbed, and Smeagol sees the ring and he's like, wow, I want that really bad. I think I'm gonna kill my cousin about it. This turns out to be an unpopular decision. So he gets exiled from his community, takes the ring, goes and lives in a cave for 500 years. We know this. Also, apparently the reason he's called Gollum is because that's the sound he makes when he coughs. Pokemon-ass naming scheme. Currently though, with Frodo, Sam, and Gollum, we are...
Really? I never did that.
Are somewhere in the middle of nowhere, poking around the outskirts of Mordor. We see that the ring is continuing to get to Frodo. What else is new? We also have a conversation where Sam is like, hey, I've been rationing our magical elf bread, so we should have enough. And Frodo's like, enough for what? And Sam goes, for the journey back home. And Frodo's like... Meanwhile, the Besties 3 and their associated horse girls are pulling up to Isengard, where they find Merry and Pippin, who are sitting around smoking weed. As they should, I guess. Isengard has already been destroyed by the Ent invasion, so we get up to speed on that. And we find out that Treebeard has apparently taken up management of Isengard. He should turn it into a Walmart. Don't you think Middle-earth would look better if it had like a whole bunch of flat parking lots in it? All of Isengard is flooded, which we did on purpose, but we can still walk around. Anyway, we collect Merry and Pippin. We're standing in front of Orthanc, which is the tower in Isengard, discussing what we want to do about Saruman, whose tower it is. And Gandalf's like, well, we should capture him alive so that we can interrogate him, because we need to know what Sauron's next steps are. Fair. As we're talking, Saruman appears on top of the tower. There would appear to be no roof access door here, so I'm assuming it's like a hatch trapdoor thing, like an attic. Anyway, Saruman does some evil monologuing for a bit, during which he reveals that he has that all-purpose orb we've mentioned a couple times. And Gandalf is clearly like, ah, fuck, that's not good. I hate the all-purpose orb. While this conversation is happening, Grima also appears on top of the tower, so the roof access hatch is not locked, I guess, which is dangerous. Theoden, way down on the ground, tries to convince Grima to stop being evil and come play for our team. Instead, Saruman slaps Grima, and Grima responds by stabbing him several times. Legolas shoots Grima to stop him, but like it's done. So now Saruman and Grima are both dead. Grima just dies where he is, but Saruman falls off the whole tower and lands on a spiky thing that impales him. Unfortunately, it is hilarious. Everyone on the ground is like, well, fuck, we needed Saruman alive. What do we do now? While they're talking, we see that the all-purpose orb falls out of Saruman's robe, so now it's just loose on the ground in flooded Isengard. This entire scene, the conversation with Saruman, his and Grima's deaths, the orb falling into the water, is not in the theatrical cut of the movie. You just never see these characters again. And when we find the orb, it's just like, oh, how did this get here? Which is weird. Why would this be one of the scenes that you skip? Also, I should point out, this scene doesn't happen in the book either, but that's because in the book, Saruman and Grima don't actually die here. In the first video, I mentioned an event called the Scouring of the Shire, which only happens in the books. It's the second to last chapter of the entire series, and it's basically just the hobbits return home to see that the Shire is getting fucked up. In the books, Saruman and Grima are the ones leading the fucking up of the Shire, and they die during that. It's still the same methods though. Saruman gets stabbed by Grima, Grima gets shot with arrows, etc. But this is about the movies. We're sticking with the movie.
Really?
Now you might be asking, why did Saruman go out so easily? Isn't he a wizard and therefore a divine being? Yeah, he is. But even if their spirit is intact, the wizard's physical bodies can still die, like Gandalf's did in the first movie. On Saruman's end though, his spirit is kind of also fucked, because now the Valar won't let him into Valinor because he's been doing all this evil shit. So he is like eternally doomed now. Whoops. Anyway, as we're discussing our game plan, Pippin notices the orb sitting in the water. He goes over and picks it up, and immediately Gandalf is like, bro, do not touch that, give it to me. So Pippin does, and Gandalf like wraps it in cloth and hides it away. Very suspicious. So, departing from Isengard, Merry and Pippin are now officially part of this group. We're leaving Treebeard behind to probably build a Walmart, and because he's building a Walmart, we're gonna
To
take
build
him
a
off the board.
Walmart.
He's not dead though. Bye, Treebeard. So, sticking with this new group, we all leave Isengard and go back to Edoras, which is the capital of Rohan, where we're having a party to honor everyone who died at the Battle of Helm's Deep, which is not on the map because we're not going there, but it's right here. At this party, Legolas and Gimli play a drinking game that is just not at all a drinking game. It's just like go shot for shot until one of you can't do it anymore. Except they do it with like ale, which just seems like a lot of liquid. I feel like just play quarters, it's more fun, but whatever. Legolas wins. Also at the party, Pippin is acting kind of weird, but we ignore it. And I don't know if it's just the lighting in this scene, but everyone's eyes are way too blue. It freaks me out. Back with Team Ring. Frodo and Sam are asleep, and Gollum is talking to himself. Classic situation. As you may remember, at the end of the last movie, his Smeagol side and his Gollum side agreed to team up to conspire against the hobbits. So his current self-conversation is about that. The general plan is, hey, we're already acting as the hobbits' guide. What if we just guide them to some place that's gonna kill them? Which, honestly, that's a pretty airtight plan. They've put 100% of the navigation on Gollum. They're obviously going to go wherever he takes them. This is why you have to double check the map. I've seen the Blair Witch Project like at least 40 times. You have to check the map. I'd say 80% of that movie is arguing about the map. The major flaw in Gollum's plan, though, is that he's saying it all out loud, which is liable to get a bitch caught. Sam wakes up and hears Gollum saying that he's going to feed the hobbits to her, spooky. So Sam attacks him, but then Frodo gets up and stops Sam. And he's like, I don't think Gollum is evil, but even if he is, we don't have a choice. We're totally lost without him because, again, we put 100% of the navigation on him. Double check the map. Over with everyone else, we're in Edoras, which means Eowyn is actually with us now because that's where she was waiting for us. And we're all sleeping in the palace. Aragorn gets up and goes outside to stare stoically into the middle distance. And he runs into Legolas, who was already outside staring stoically into the middle distance. Fellas, is it gay to stare stoically into the middle distance with your bro?
No.
Legolas is like my magical.
No, it's not. It's hot dude shit, dude. When you and your bro stare into the distance together, it's when you're both thinking deep, pondering life. That's when the real shit happens.
Heightened elf senses are telling me that our situation is bad, which, like, yeah, I feel that I could have gathered that with my normal senses, but okay. Inside, Pippin is tossing and turning, can't sleep, could not be me. I sleep so much all the time, even when I don't want to, sitting upright in a chair often. He wants to look at the all-purpose orb again. It's like the only thing he's thinking about. And he gets up to go do that, which means it's finally time to explain the all-purpose orb. So the orb is
the Palantir.
A thing called a Palantir. I'm always inclined to pronounce it Palantir because there's an accent on this I, but in the movie Gandalf says Palantir, so I guess we're going with that. The Palantir is a seeing stone, so it is like a standard crystal ball, but the original purpose of them wasn't like scrying or seeing the future or whatever. It was just communicating between different Palantirs. Big, round walkie-talkie. There were originally 7 of them in Middle-earth. The Palantiri, plural, were scattered across the collective area of Gondor and Arnor, and they were all in towers in various important cities so that those cities could communicate with each other. Over time, several of the Palantiri have been destroyed, mostly by assorted wars. There are 4 left. One of those is irrelevant to us, and another one is technically here, but we don't ever mention it in the movie. So for our purposes, there are 2. Saruman had one in Isengard, which is the one that we have now, and Sauron has one over in Mordor. They've been using them to communicate evil plans back and forth. And Gandalf thinks that this Palantir connection is how Saruman was corrupted to the dark side. Count Dooku and Saruman do have the exact same arc, don't they? Rest in peace to Sir Christopher Lee, by the way. He died at age 93 with 244 screen credits.
Bro, don't forget, he's also, he's not Xehanort. Something the Wise in Kingdom Hearts. Oh, what's his name? He was also a trained spy and knew how to murder people.
17 movie sword fights, which I think is still the world record. 5 fluent and 4 proficient languages. Several musical credits in films for
And said he knew J.R.R. Tolkien.
And 2 full heavy metal albums released at ages 88 and 91 to his name. He read Lord of the Rings once a year, every year, since it came out in 1954. He actually met Professor Tolkien once, and on the set of this movie, Peter Jackson was blocking the scene where Grima stabs Saruman, and Sir Christopher Lee corrected him on some details because he had hunted Nazis in World War II and knew firsthand what it sounds like when someone gets stabbed in the back. Absolutely batshit crazy. That's my Dracula right there, dude. Holy shit.
Not
Anyway.
batshit. Giga Chad.
the Palantiri. They can communicate between each other, which is how Saruman got mega influenced by Sauron. He used to be normal good wizard, now he is abnormal bad wizard, except actually now he is dead wizard. A Palantir can't exactly like look into your thoughts or anything by itself, but because it's basically a walkie-talkie, anything that the user can do can still happen. So like because Sauron is able to influence people very drastically, he can still do that through the Palantir. So we're in the palace in Edoras and it's the middle of the night. Pippin gets up because he's very curious and wants to look at the Palantir again. So he takes it from Gandalf, who's still sleeping, by doing the Indiana Jones switcheroo. That's a technical term. When he touches it though, he immediately starts getting a bunch of spooky visions of Sauron and reacting like he's in a lot of pain. Everything goes crazy mode for a second until everybody else wakes up and Gandalf covers the Palantir again. Pippin, meanwhile, is freaking out and Gandalf is like, what happened? What did you see in the orb? And Pippin says that he saw Sauron and it was very upsetting. And he also saw Minas Tirith, which is the capital city of Gondor, burning. Not great. Here's what's interesting though. Gandalf asks if Pippin told Sauron anything about Frodo, and he didn't. But he did see Minas Tirith. So actually, this whole shit with the Palantir is turning out to be a good thing. Because what Pippin saw was a glimpse of Sauron's plan. We had originally intended to get that information by interrogating Saruman, but obviously we weren't able to do that. Which reminds me that these two are not supposed to be on the board anymore because they died. Bye. Anyway, we were kind of SOL on that until right now when we have learned via Pippin and the Palantir that Sauron plans to strike Minas Tirith. Now remember, Minas Tirith is the capital of Gondor, and it's where the king of Gondor would live if there was one, which there isn't. However, we do know that the rightful heir to the throne of Gondor is alive because it's Aragorn. By the way, various characters refer to him as the heir of Elendil. Elendil was just the first king of Gondor. He was the father of Isildur. So because Aragorn is related to Isildur, he's also related to Elendil. So if you hear somebody refer to him as the heir of Elendil, they just mean that he's the heir to the throne of Gondor. The point of this is that because of the defeat at Helm's Deep, Sauron now knows that the heir of Elendil is alive, which means that men are not as weak as he thought. However, he doesn't know who the heir is or where they are. It's Aragorn, he's with us. But so Sauron's plan is now centered on destroying Gondor before the return of the king. I said the name. So we extrapolate all of this regarding Sauron's plan based on what Pippin saw in the Palantir. We're standing around talking about it in Edoras, and Gandalf is like, hey Theoden, Rohan is gonna have to help Gondor, so your horse girls need to mobilize. And Theoden is like, no. Why should we help Gondor? We were in fucking dire straits at Helm's Deep and they didn't do anything to help us, which is true, but a battle in Minas Tirith would mean something very different than the battle at Helm's Deep. Minas Tirith is the biggest and most powerful city that mankind has. For Minas Tirith to fall would essentially mean the end of Gondor, which would very quickly lead to the end of Rohan. So the issue here is no longer honoring alliances between kingdoms. Now it's like, does mankind continue to exist or not? Regardless, Theoden says that Rohan is not going to mobilize at this moment. The implication is that if Gondor formally asks for help, then the horse girls will be there. In the book by this point, Gondor has actually already done that. They've asked for help by now and Rohan is already gathering troops. But in the movie, we're not doing that. So Gandalf is like, okay, restructuring the plan. Someone has to warn Gondor, but it can't be the besties three because Aragorn is with them and he's kind of an ace up our sleeve at the moment. So I'm gonna go and I'm taking Pippin with me. Pippin, meanwhile, doesn't really get what's going on. So Merry has to be like, okay, dumb fuck, and explain everything. But all he says is you have to leave because the enemy thinks that you have the ring, which honestly isn't super helpful because he then doesn't explain why the enemy would think that or why going to Minas Tirith would help with that at all.
Because they don't know of
why
all the
Sauron
hobbits.
would think that Pippin has the ring. Sauron thinks that Saruman is still in control of the Isengard Palantir because he has no reason to assume otherwise. In the movie, Saruman is dead, but how would he know that? And in the book, Saruman is alive, but Grima tossed the Palantir out of the tower to be an asshole, which again, how would he know that? So Sauron thinks that Saruman still has the Palantir, and he knew that Saruman was trying to find the ring because that was the mission that Sauron sent Saruman on. He also knew that it was probably to eventually betray him, but that doesn't really matter. The important part is that both Saruman and Sauron knew that a hobbit had the ring. Because in the first movie, Gandalf had told Saruman that the ring was in the Shire when he went to Isengard to ask for advice before he knew that Saruman was evil.
Yeah.
So when Sauron sees Pippin through the Palantir, which is supposed to be in Isengard, he's like, oh, Saruman must have captured the hobbit that has the ring. So more or less, that's why Sauron thinks that Pippin has the ring. Regarding why Gandalf is taking...
Is that why in the book Saruman scours the Shire? Because he still thinks the ring's in the Shire?
Pippin to Minas Tirith, mostly to keep an eye on him. He gets into stuff. Also, this way he can protect him from any Nazgul that might seek him out. I just realized that the Nazgul are not up on the board. We're doing so well today. Nazgul. Regardless, Gandalf and Pippin are going to Minas Tirith, which is truly brutal for Billy Boyd, the actor who plays Pippin, because my man is Scottish.
How far is Minas Tirith?
Minas Tirith. So these two split off, and we're back to having 3 separate groups to keep track of, plus irrelevant elves and villains. Now, we have to do a brief interlude for the fucking Rivendell elves again. Arwen is in the process of traveling to the coast so that she can get on a boat to go to Valinor. She has a weird and inexplicable vision of her son that she...
I thought it was explained that her dad has visions of the future too, and that power passed on to her.
I guess has with Aragorn. So she says, fuck this, I want to have my son, and she turns around and goes back to Rivendell. By doing that, she has officially made the choice to stay on Middle-earth and become mortal. Remember, in the book, she made this same choice like 40 years ago or more.
Oh.
And so she goes to her father Elrond and she's like, hey, I'm mortal now. Also, she's still crying. Thank you so much. Anyway, Elrond is like, well, fuck, now I guess I have a vested interest in the fate of Middle-earth, because if everything goes to shit, it'll mean a horrible death for my now mortal daughter. So I guess I'm gonna help Aragorn win the war against Sauron. And I'm gonna do that by reforging the sword that Isildur's dad used to kill.
And I could have swore, even where I was in the book, the sword was reforged before Helm's Deep. I thought that was where that happened in the book.
Sauron the first time, like 3,000 years ago when we first got the ring. Symbolism. I do feel like Elrond probably should have had a vested interest in Middle-earth anyway. He's lived here for like many thousands of years. You don't have any like fondness or nostalgia that would make you want to potentially save this place? Anyway, let's go hang out with Gandalf and Pippin. After 3 days of traveling by Warrior Cat's horse, they get to Minas Tirith, which looks incredibly hard to navigate. What kind of city planning is that? What the hell happens when it rains? Just fuck the bottom layers in particular? This is all just flooded? Anyway, we get all the way to the Citadel at the top, which I'd imagine takes at least another day in this wedding cake ass.
Turned into a fucking slip and slide all the way down to the bottom layer. From the top layer to the bottom, it's just slip and slide.
See the guy in charge of Gondor, whose name is Denethor. However, as we know, Gondor has no king, so Denethor is instead the steward of Gondor.
Put a baby
He's
cherry
like in
on,
charge of it
or
in
cherry
the
tomato
absence of a king. Except we
up
haven't had a
there.
king for like 1,000 years. The stewards have reigned for a long time, essentially. Denethor is also the father of Faramir, which makes him also the father of Boromir, who, as you may recall, is dead. Boromir was the older son and by far the favorite. Denethor fucking hates Faramir for a pretty classic reason. His wife died due to complications of giving birth to Faramir, so Denethor blames Faramir for her death. Standard setup. He also just thinks that Faramir has like always been weak and shit. Despite the situation with their father, Boromir and Faramir were always very close. Anyway, Boromir is of course dead, but we don't know if Denethor knows that. So Gandalf's like, Pippin, don't say anything about the fact that Boromir is dead. We walk into the throne room and Gandalf is like, hey Denethor, and Denethor's like, why is Boromir dead? Okay. Pippin is like, well, he already knows. Time to throw the whole plan out. And he tells Denethor that Boromir died protecting him and Merry. And then out of nowhere, he's like, but I'll pledge my service to Gondor in repayment of my debt to Boromir. Gandalf decides to deal with that later. Can't blame him. And tries to go for diplomacy. He's like, okay, Denethor, unfortunately, we do kind of really need you to lock in. You have an existential threat coming your way, and you kind of have no choice but to fight it out. Having the horse girls here would be a huge help for that. So you should formally request Theoden's help. And Denethor goes, listen, you fuck-ass glass cannon motherfucker. I'm not stupid. I know that you've been hanging out with Theoden, and I know that Aragorn exists. You're trying to use my city as a war stronghold, and you're trying to usurp my throne. And Gandalf is like, okay, 2 things. 1, your city's gonna end up being a war stronghold no matter what. And 2, what do you mean usurp your throne? You don't have the throne. You're not the king. And Denethor is like, fuck you, yes I am. So we find out that Denethor has let the power that he has as the steward of Gondor like really go to his head. And also that he won't move to defend the city or to call for Theoden's help. Separately, Pippin actually did pledge his service to Denethor, so he gets like sworn in as a guard of the Citadel. Employment, that's huge. Later, Gandalf and Pippin are talking, and Gandalf hard launches the concept of the Witch King of Angmar. The Witch King is one of the 9 Nazgul. He's like the leader Nazgul because he's the most powerful one. There's a long-standing prophecy that like no living man can kill him. Pretty classic. He's actually the one that lightly stabbed Frodo that one time in the first movie. And he lives in this place called Minas Morgul. So let's talk about the deal with this place. Minas Morgul was originally a city of Gondor. Back then it was called Minas Ithil, and it was the easternmost city in the kingdom, located right at the opening of the pass that goes between Gondor and Mordor. You know how Frodo and Sam have been looking for a way into Mordor other than the Black Gate? It'll be this pass, but we'll get here later. So Minas Ithil was there to be a defense against Mordor, and as beautiful as it allegedly was, I'm sure it sucked to live there. Place got sieged several times. The most recent time it got sieged was by the Nazgul like 1,000 years ago, at which point it was completely overtaken and occupied by Sauron's forces from Mordor. Now it's called Minas Morgul and is still controlled by Sauron and associated evil guys. Regarding the
Minas
name, Minas
Morgul.
Ithil, which was the Gondor version of the name, means Tower of the Moon, and Minas Morgul means like Tower of Dark Sorcery. Very subtle, but to clarify, Minas Morgul is a name that men gave to the fallen version of the city. They renamed it after it was lost. Mordor has their own name for it. Minas Tirith also used to have a different name. It's a whole thing and it doesn't really matter. But just know that Minas Morgul and Minas Ithil are the same place. If you hear either name, they're both this one city. So Gandalf tells Pippin about the Witch King of Angmar, who lives in Minas Morgul and has lived in Minas Morgul since he sieged it 1,000 years ago. We then cut from this group to Team Ring, who is currently arriving in Minas Morgul. Timing works out. Upon their arrival, we see that the Witch King has made the place spooky creepy to match his aesthetic, and I am all for exterior design. It's very cohesive. As we're standing here, we see that there's a giant army of orcs in Minas Morgul that are doing like Avengers gearing up montage shit. So now this group knows that there is for sure a war going on. Also, the Witch King makes his very dramatic debut on his fell beast. We have been referring to fell beasts as Alaskan bull wyverns. We are going to continue to do that. Anyway, making it to Minas Morgul means that we've also made it.
We've been watching this so long, I'm starting to get overwhelmed.
To that pass that's right next to it. There are technically two routes through this pass. One of them is way easier but puts us out in the open. So instead we're going to take the other one, which is difficult and sucks. The pass, by the way, is called Cirith Ungol. I've marked it right here. I'm sure you can't really make out this photo at all. That's going to be a running theme, by the way. Everything from these mountains eastward is going to be really poorly lit, okay? Anyway, the pass is here. Cirith Ungol means passage of the spider. Surely this is innocuous and foreshadows nothing. Anyway, Gollum starts taking us up this truly evil staircase that is the first part of Cirith Ungol. While they're doing that, we're gonna go visit Faramir, who I wish I hadn't put over here, because while he is associated with this group for the majority of the movie, he is not in Minas Tirith where the rest of them are. I'm gonna label where everyone is, actually. One second. I've given Isildur brackets so that you know that he's a person. Anyway, we're visiting Faramir. He and his men are stationed here in Osgiliath, which is the place where we were at when he let Frodo and Sam go. Also, we have encountered yet another crucial technical difficulty. We are out of red friendship bracelet string, so now anything vaguely resembling red also counts. And for the record, red is places that belong to our team, black is places that belong to Sauron team. Checkers rules. Anyway, Osgiliath used to be the capital of Gondor. Currently the capital is Minas Tirith, but it used to be Osgiliath. After several thousand years and various wars and plagues, though, Osgiliath now lies in ruins and is abandoned. Now, here's the thing about Osgiliath. It was built on both sides of the river Anduin. Like, there was an eastern side of the city, a huge bridge over the river, and then the western side of the city, but both were Osgiliath. And then there's like a big field in here, and then there's Minas Tirith. Originally, Minas Ithil, which is now Minas Morgul, was placed where it was to defend against Mordor, but that stopped being viable after a while when it was sieged like 1 billion times. So eventually, Osgiliath became the last line of defense between Mordor and Minas Tirith. In order to get to Minas Tirith, forces from Mordor would have to cross the river. Now, like we said, there's basically two halves of Osgiliath. It's like eastern half, the big bridge, and then western half. There's also a bunch of small bridges, but there's one like big main bridge. That bridge is the most viable point to get a full-scale army from Mordor across this river, which is one of the reasons why Osgiliath is now in ruins. It gets attacked all the time, like every time the orcs need to cross the river. River crossings are a big deal in Middle-earth warfare. Anyway, Faramir and his men are stationed in the western side of Osgiliath. Only the western side. They can't get to the eastern side anymore because they have purposely destroyed all of their own bridges to try to stop the orcs from crossing the river. So now there's essentially no way for a large-scale army to get across this river on foot. But still, even if they can't do it on foot by bridge, because of what infrastructure has remained in place, like docks and boat landings and roads, Osgiliath is basically still the only place where a large army could feasibly cross the river at all. The orcs have already taken the eastern part of Osgiliath. That's why our team destroyed the bridges. All this to say, if Sauron's army is able to take the western side of Osgiliath, they'll have completely free passage to get across the river, and there will be nothing standing between them and Minas Tirith anymore. Got it? So Faramir and his men are garrisoned here, holding the western side of Osgiliath, which has been going about as fine as it can so far, except actually there are suddenly like 100 orc boats coming across the river. So fuck us, I guess. And even better, we have guessed wrong about where we thought they'd be coming from. So now we have like 2 minutes to change our entire formation and get ready to fight, after which the orcs make landfall, very Normandy style, and the numbers game looks very bad for us, I can't lie. Meanwhile, in Minas Tirith, Denethor is like not doing anything. He's pretty despairing too. Like he's like, oh, I don't think there's a point in defending the city because we're all gonna die anyway, blah, blah, blah. He's not despairing nearly this much in the book at this point, but we're in the movie, and in the movie he's like, bro, it's so over. So Gandalf is like, okay, more plan restructuring. And he secretly sends Pippin to go light the beacons of Minas Tirith, which is a big signal fire setup that Minas Tirith lights if Gondor needs help. There's a bunch of them in a line across these mountains here in like 30-mile increments, and they're all monitored 24/7. If the beacon in Minas Tirith goes up, you're able to see it from the next beacon. So you light that one, and the next one sees it, and you go down the line until you get to the beacon that's visible from Edoras. If the beacons of Minas Tirith are lit, Gondor is calling on Rohan for help in a wartime conflict. This would be that formal request for aid that Theoden wanted. Denethor clearly won't make the request himself, so Gandalf sends Pippin to do it. The beacons all like sequentially lighting up is such a cool scene, dude. Notably in the books, Denethor again is not in total despair at the moment, so there he does light the beacons himself, and actually he did so a while ago. But anyway, the final beacon in the chain is lit, and all the way in Edoras, Aragorn sees it. So he runs to the palace, and he's like, dude, the beacons are lit, Gondor's calling for help. And Theoden goes,
And Rohan will answer.
Theoden gives the order to assemble the horse girls. He
Let's
gives his generals 2 days to run around the kingdom and gather every man who can wield a sword. All the horse girls are going to meet up in a war encampment, and then we'll ride out for Minas Tirith the following morning. Right after that order, Merry pops up, and he's like, hey, I have a sword. And Theoden's like, yeah, okay. So Merry is now a horse girl. Actually, he has a pony, but proportionally he's a horse girl. As everyone is prepping to go to the war encampment, we see that Eowyn is tacking up a horse. And Aragorn walks by and he's like, oh, are you coming with us? And she's like, haha, yeah, it's tradition for women of the court to like go to the war encampment or whatever. And Aragorn is like, oh, okay. Hey, is there a reason you're bringing like a poorly concealed sword with you? And Eowyn's like, I wouldn't worry about it. Meanwhile, over in Osgiliath with Faramir, everyone is fucked. Like it is so over. Nothing has ever been more over. Orcs and Nazgul and Alaskan bull wyverns have completely overrun the western half of the city, and most of the Gondorian garrison is dead. Granted, this was never a winnable fight. We were unprepared and severely outnumbered. So Faramir orders a retreat to Minas Tirith. When we get there, Faramir finds Gandalf, who he knows already. He's the son of an important figure, and Gandalf travels a lot. Faramir sees Pippin, and he's like, what the fuck? Another hobbit. He's probably seen more hobbits in the last week than he has in the entire rest of his life combined. So he makes the connection, and he tells Gandalf and Pippin about his interactions with Frodo and Sam. Which is good, because now at least somebody from the other teams actually knows that they're alive, and that the ring is still on the move. However, Faramir also says that they're going via Cirith Ungol, and Gandalf is like, rest in peace, I guess. Later, Faramir meets with his father and tells him about what's been going on, and Denethor is like, bro, why did you send the ring away with Frodo? You should have given it to me. You suck so bad, dude. Boromir would have given it to me. And Faramir is like, no, he wouldn't have. It would have corrupted him, and he would have used it for himself. Which, like, yeah, he's totally right. But that doesn't really matter to Denethor, who is more fucked up than we thought. We kind of thought he was just like despairing and grieving and being a shut-in, but as it turns out, he's full fucked up. He's like hallucinating Boromir and shit. Also, the actor for Denethor, his name's John Noble, is fantastic. Unironically, this is by far the most unsettling character in the whole series.
Oh, yeah.
I am more scared of this guy than I am of anything else in the movies or in the books. I actually had nightmares of this guy as a child. Him and Herbert from Club Penguin, who kind of looks like him, now that I think about it. Over with Frodo and Sam, we have started climbing the 10 million stairs of Cirith Ungol. These aren't really stairs, actually. If you have to boulder in order to use them, they're not stairs. Fuck that. Anyway, Sam is on to Gollum. He can tell that there's some nefarious plot going on, and he's mad about it. To get ahead of it, Gollum flips it and starts telling Frodo that Sam wants the ring and is going to try to steal it from him. And Frodo starts getting suspicious of Sam. We said this in the last video, but again, in the book, Frodo is never suspicious of Sam, and they're besties all the way through. Immediately going back to Faramir,
look, that
we're in the
awesome guy
Citadel
came back
speaking to
online.
Denethor again. Pippin is also here now because he works here. He's employed. Denethor tells Faramir that he should go try to take Osgiliath back. Faramir says no, that's a suicide mission, and anyway, it wouldn't help at this point. The orcs have already crossed the river. To which Denethor says, I wish you had died instead of Boromir. Jesus. So Faramir, who is really beaten down and is trying to win his father's approval, is like, okay, I guess I'm going to Osgiliath. In the unlikely event that I survive, please think higher of me. Notably, in the book at this point, the conditions surrounding Osgiliath are different, and the decision to try to take it back makes a lot more sense there. At this point in the book, the beacons have already been lit, but Gondor is still holding the eastern side of Osgiliath. The orcs have not crossed the river. Denethor wants to send Faramir to Osgiliath to try to hold the western side for as long as they can. The hope is that they can buy Rohan enough time to gather their forces and get here, hopefully before before the orcs do. It's still a suicide mission, but it's a much more strategically reasonable play than what happens in the movie. But also, the movie is purposely portraying Denethor as crazier than he is in the book
As a
at the same
psychopath.
juncture. And having him send his son to Osgiliath under the movie's circumstances does definitely boost the sense that he's crazy. Like, a lot. However, it also boosts the sense that Faramir is really desperate for his father's approval, which is still the case in the book, but it's not this bad. It's not to the point that he would send his own men to certain death for no good reason. Anyway,
Yeah.
Faramir and his men ride back to Osgiliath. Zoop. Over with Team Ring, Gollum is going eviler mode. While the others are asleep, he throws the last of their food off of the
Not the
cliff
lembas
stairs,
bread.
and then sprinkles some of the crumbs on Sam. So Gollum frames
Yep.
Sam for the murder of their lembas bread, and everyone is confused and mad and so on. And then Frodo is like having an extra bad time because of the ring, and Sam, trying to be nice, is like, hey, I could carry it for a bit if you need, but Frodo takes that as confirmation of what
Get
Gollum
away
said
from me.
earlier, that Sam is going to try to steal the ring from him. So he tells Sam to leave and go home, like go back to the Shire, as if that's at all viable from the bouldering stairs. But eventually Sam says okay and leaves. Finally checking in with our besties and horse girls, people are starting to gather at the war encampment, which is located here over by Edoras. It's like a few mountains over. At the moment, we have gathered about 6,000 men, which is less than half of what we'd hoped for, and also definitely not enough. In the war encampment, Legolas and Gimli are speaking to Éomer, and they're like, hey, we found this ominous path that cuts through the mountains. Do you know what that is? And Éomer
I've
is
been
like, oh,
seeing some
that's the road
ghosts
to the
around
spooky
it."
door under the mountain. None who venture there ever return, haha. Naturally, when Aragorn looks at that same path, he sees a ghost. So later that night, Theoden calls Aragorn to the fancy king tent and says, hey, someone is here to see you. It's fucking Elrond, who rode here with a hood covering his eyes, it looks like. Very dangerous. Elrond tells Aragorn that Arwen has chosen mortality, so now he gives a shit about the war. And he gives us a couple pieces of information. First of all, he says Sauron has his army marching on Minas Tirith, which we knew already, but apparently there's also a second secret army of pirates that are going to be invading simultaneously from the river. He says they'll be here in 2 days, and like, Elrond, dude, how long have you known this? Couldn't you have appeared in a dream or something to tell us? Or you could tell Arwen and then she could appear in a dream and tell us? She's always doing that anyway. We could just make it cool and helpful for once. Elrond also tells Aragorn that he needs more men, and Aragorn is like, yeah, I know, but there are no more men. And Elrond says, there are those in the mountain. He's referring to that road that leads to the spooky door that Éomer told us about.
ghost
Because
people.
apparently the ghost that Aragorn saw was real, and there are ghost men in the mountain. Elrond gives Aragorn the reforged version of the sword that Elendil used to defeat Sauron the first time, which is largely symbolic, but also the sword is kind of magical. I don't know. It basically serves as like proof that Aragorn really is the heir of Elendil, because apparently only this bloodline can wield the sword. Elrond says that the man who can wield Excalibur sword thing can summon and control the ghost army. So Aragorn is gonna head out to go collect the ghost army. And he's about to go when Ride or Die's Legolas and Gimli pull up and they're like, actually, we're coming with you. Besties 3 hanging out on a
Let's
quest.
go.
Third, we're getting the band back together. So we've reshuffled again. These 3 are going to Ghost Mountain. These 4 are still in the war encampment. Elrond has gone back to Rivendell, I think. I don't know. So Ghost Zone is obviously in the same place as the war encampment. That's how we get there. So we've just attached these 2 together. This is labeled Ghost Cave, but the Ghost Cave is inside the Ghost Mountain. We're not technically here yet, but it's fine. Legolas explains what's going on with Ghost Mountain pretty clearly, but the gist of it is a long time ago there was a big-ass army that swore an oath to Isildur to help Gondor fight against Sauron, but when the time came, the army did not do that. As a result, they are cursed to stay on Middle-earth until they fulfill their oath. So I guess Isildur has like curse-causing abilities, like real ones, because these guys actually did become ghosts. The wording of the oath stipulates that the army has to obey anybody who is actually an heir of Isildur, and also only an heir of Isildur can declare that the oath has been fulfilled. So basically, there's a big ghost army in Ghost Mountain, and Aragorn is, in theory, the only person that they'll actually answer to. So the Besties 3 go inside Ghost Mountain, now they're in Ghost Cave, where they hope to find ghosts. Seems doable. The following morning, the horse
remember,
girls
like-
head out. It's gonna take them all day.
I remember that this ghost scene was like the scariest shit when I was a little kid. This and the spiders, man, is the only thing that fucked me up about these movies.
And night to ride to Minas Tirith. Merry is all geared up on his pony, and Theoden rides by and is like, dude, you can't come with us. You're too small, and the pony is too slow, and none of my riders can afford to take you with them. Which, like, why did you tell him he could be in the fight earlier then? Regardless, everyone goes, and Mary's getting left behind. But then, Éowyn pulls up in disguise. She's wearing a helmet that hides her face. She rides by, grabs Merry, pulls him up onto the horse, and says, ride with me. Exactly. Yes, we do, girl. Mary and Eowyn are going to Minas Tirith. Over in Ghost Mountain, we find ghosts. A lot of them. We meet their spokes ghost, the King of the Dead, and Aragorn is like, you need to help us fight a war. Ghost guy says, well, we'll only do that if the heir of Isildur asks us to. Aragorn's like, bitch, I know what I said. So we promise the ghosts that we'll declare their oath fulfilled if they help us fight this battle. The whole Ghost Mountain and cave collapses for kind of no reason, and there's a second where we're like, oh fuck, they're not gonna help us. But then Ghost King is like, actually, yeah, let's do it. And elsewhere, we see that the orcs are in the middle of their march towards Minas Tirith. So the pieces are in place. We will discuss the rest tomorrow. It's tomorrow. So in the middle of their march,
Dude, she is a trooper for like one scripting all this out and just back to back. It seems back to back days of filming and
orc
editing
army
this.
have made it past Osgiliath. Now, crucially important, the orc
I wonder like how many hours she had to like edit and cut out.
army has siege weapons. That's important because I love siege weapons. Dude, my Northern Realms Gwent deck is like entirely siege units. It's the anti-monsters deck. That's the
I
strategy.
love that she's definitely got like the middle age autism. Where it's all like medieval armor and war and tactics and Lord of the Rings and
Siege units and biting frosts.
He's
Anyway,
cool.
the orc army is advancing on Minas Tirith, but they have to cross this big field, so they're not quite here yet. In the meantime, one singular horse pulls up to the gates of Minas Tirith, which is confusing, and the guards open the gate, which is even more confusing. Guys, I thought we were clear. Never open the city gates for a singular horse under suspicious circumstances. We've been over this. It ends up being okay though, because as it turns out, it's Faramir's horse, and also Faramir, who's like full of arrows and attached to the horse via reins looped around his leg. So presumably he's been dragged all the way here behind the horse, and I feel like that alone probably should have killed him. Regardless, he has technically made it back to Minas Tirith. They have this dude moving all over the place. We don't know if he's dead. He looks pretty dead though. Regardless, he is evidently the only person that made it back from Osgiliath in any capacity. So the guards put him on a stretcher and bring him up to the citadel, where Denethor is for some reason shocked by this outcome. While that's happening, the orc army arrives at the gates of Minas Tirith, and one of their generals is like, okay, for our first move, we will catapult the severed heads of the men from the Osgiliath garrison over the wall and into the city. And that's obviously fucked up, but unfortunately, I am gagged. The orcs do teach a masterclass in lowering opponent morale. Back up in the citadel, Denethor is having like a full breakdown. He's like, bro, all is lost. Both of my sons are dead. This is so fucked. Meanwhile, Pippin actually checks on Faramir for more than half a second and realizes that he is, in fact, not dead, and we should perhaps help him because of that. But Denethor is full on despairing and is completely ignoring him. He's like, Rohan deserted us, my kids are dead, there's a fuck off big army at the gate. It's not going well. He starts yelling for soldiers to abandon their posts, so Gandalf fucking clubs him, knocks him out, and is like, ignore that, prepare for battle. While they're preparing for battle, we find out that while the orcs have traditional mangonel catapults, Gondor has trebuchets, which for heavy siege purposes are obviously superior. Longer range, higher weight capacity, this is huge for us. We are flinging broken chunks of our own buildings back at the orc army. Admittedly not quite as iconic as the severed heads, but still pretty good. Some other highlights here. The Witch King and the other Nazgul pull up with their Alaskan bull wyverns. Gandalf is Donatelloing. Pippin stabs a guy. Lot going on. Over with the Besties 3, who are now outside of Ghost Mountain. Remember how Elrond told us that there was a second secret army of pirates? We are standing on a chill riverbank watching those pirate ships come in. Technically, they're not pirates, they're corsairs, which makes them privateers. They're government authorized, significantly less cool. Although it occurs to me that the word corsair does have like a religious connotation, so crusader privateers, I guess. The worst of both worlds. When the boats get close enough, Aragorn flags them down, and he's like, hey, sorry, you actually can't invade Gondor. And the Corsairs are like, right, so the thing is, we're gonna go ahead and invade Gondor anyway. So we summon the Ghost Army, who do a sick dramatic entrance, and fucking decimate the Corsairs. And then we commandeer one of the boats and keep sailing towards where the pirates were gonna land. Corsairs? Where the Corsairs were going to land. Over in Minas Tirith, the orcs are having a hard time with the city gates, so they have to deploy their giant on-fire battering ram, which is named Grond. Grond is giving Flamethrower Double Guitar Guy from Mad Max Fury Road, and I'm a huge fan of Flamethrower Double Guitar Guy from Mad Max Fury Road, which makes me a fan of Grond by association. Anyway, with the power vested in Grond, the orcs are able to break through the gate. Sauron's forces officially inside Minas Tirith. Meanwhile, Pippin is up in the Citadel, where we see that Denethor is about to have a funeral for Faramir, who again is not dead. Still, Denethor is like,
He's
okay,
not
yeah, all
dead, by the
lost,
way.
time to
Start a whole like burn him while he's still alive.
go ahead and burn my son and also myself on a pyre, despite the fact that we are both alive. This will definitely be a righteous end for my bloodline.
Hello.
Sure, why not? Let's check
You want to go on a raid?
Hey, what happened, man? I saw you disappear from up there for a bit.
My internet died.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can go on a raid. We're gonna have anybody else, or is it just us two?
Waffle and Tsar, Raiden, and Final Fantasy.
Again?
Yeah, they're on the third fight.
Oh, I hear that's the stone wall.
I hadn't kept up with any of it.
When I climb in the ring. Yeah, let me switch to Aquadas. Only 136,000 people in this category, Austin.
Okay. What category?
Arc Raiders.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh no. My dog. Dude, I swear to God, it's been like, it had to have been like 2 hours of just watching this Lord of the Rings lore videos. So good. Yeah, it's so good. I'm like blown away by the amount of scripting she's had to have done.
I mean, she was just like reading the books, but yeah. No, why did my... Okay.
Don't worry, Arc Raiders is gonna start one of these days, chat.
I believe. I'm in Speranza.
Speranza. Running in my game to fucking load, bro.
Wow. Scrappy.
Scrappy.
I need one more apricot. And then Scrappy will be level 3.
You can call that Danny guy. You think he's awake?
At 11 p.m. on a Friday?
You think his computer's fucking fixed yet?
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, no, definitely not.
Come on, computer. There we go. There we go. Hold. Oh, wait. Reloading shaders. Why?
I don't know.
I'll get a gilded pickaxe. Chicken.
10
Wow.
million raiders.
Thank you, Mr. Chicken. I changed the pickaxe. Okay. Did you invite me? You did. Hell yeah.
Let's go. Where do we go?
Who fucking knows?
What are my missions? I gotta go to Buried City and damn. Oh, I need to go to any of them and just do something. What is this? Loot a bear tusk. All right. Well, let's go wherever then. Sure.
I love I can barely see your character's face beneath that mask.
Nobody knew who I was under the mask. Ready. Can't even see your face. What do you mean?
Yeah. This is the Moogle mask.
Is it? What if they put in an actual Moogle mask?
Oh my god.
Your weapon's durability degrades? Whoops. So I gotta check that.
I was getting 1 FPS there for a second. Oh, look, a steel spring.
My weapon durability is 78 out of 130.
Where are we going here?
I don't know.
Why'd you bring it to you?
Where are we at? I need to go to the hospital. I need to search 3 containers in the hospital.
I think I know where that is. Rusted tools.
Off we go. Why is it dark?
Why is it nighttime?
What's that blue light?
Oh, blue. That's your ping, isn't it?
Oh. No.
No. I have no idea. What are those red lights over there? It's like a train here.
Breaching takes a long time.
You spec into the breaching.
No, I
Check out
into
mine.
Speed.
Boom, done breaching.
I spec'd into running and stamina.
The coward spec.
True.
There's a little guy right there.
He's down. Loot his body. Don't shoot that one.
Let me just give him a little shot.
No, don't do that.
There's a button here.
What?
There's like a little button right here.
Don't just go pushing random buttons.
Why not? As he presses the random button.
What? Why are there so many arcs? There's somebody shooting.
I'm gonna find a room so I can hide and fix my audio real fast.
Okay.
Why is audio not coming through? Properties. Arc Raiders. There we go. You go, buddy. Mm-hmm. What up?
To the hospital.
Hospital. That Rocketeer is right there in front of us.
Rocketeer.
What's wrong with you? This guy right here. Hello.
Hey.
Just don't talk to him. Bye-bye.
What they said.
I kind of said to me there.
That's real quiet.
Let me turn up audio. Dialogue? Proximity voice 200. In settings. You good, bud?
Yeah, I just need to loot stuff. There's containers.
Whole bunch of shit in here. The shells right here too.
Shield recharger. Alright, I'm good now. So we can go over.
I don't know where I'm going.
Okay.
That's the problem with rubber ducky going in my butt.
With going with Waffle and Danny. Just going sneaky places.
They just take me everywhere and I don't know where to go, like what to do and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just like a Doberman or I'm a golden retriever. A Pharaoh 1. You want a Pharaoh 1?
Yeah.
What? I collect those. Like 4.
Nice. Oh, it's still a plastic. Oh, this was probably a bad idea. Hey, there's a thing down there.
Boop. Uh-oh. We need to kill it. Oh! Okay. Austin, we need to go. Because it called in like 5 other robots.
That's fine. Go get down.
Just drop down.
I don't have health to drop down. There's the robots.
I didn't bring any shield rechargers. Do you have those arc things? Where is it? I guess you did not bring a lot of health.
I normally only bring a stack of bandages. I found a shield recharger while we were in here. I'm about to use all of my bandages. Do I get out?
Yeah, I have 18 bullets.
We should get out.
Or exit.
There's one. Oh wait, we need a radar key.
Head
Go
home at
there.
the northern station. Let's head home at the northern station.
You got like 3 minutes to get there. It's like over here, isn't it? Here, this way. It's like in between these buildings. Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Wait, let's see that
I wish
hair.
we.
Sheesh, matching redheads.
Oh yeah.
Check this out. Check this out.
I see some music. Where's that guy with the reporter?
All I've got is a clown horn.
There you go.
Train is on the platform. Opening doors.
Happy rating.
Happy rating.
GG, guys.
Hey, look, we got the nice people.
If you don't shoot people, they don't shoot back.
Isn't there like a hidden, like matchmaking I would say
they confirmed it though, so it's not really hidden anymore.
I wonder how evil the matches are that Danny and Austin or Waffle and them get into.
I just don't shoot people.
Because I'm just out here picking up trash and collecting ducks. A level 9 raider.
Level 10. Inventory. I need to sell crap.
Reached level 10. Apparently I hit level 10. 40,000 coins. For 6 words. I need more ammo. Am I out of medium ammo? Oh my gosh. Give me like.
I'm not opening this door. Just tell me what you want.
Craft like 300 ammo. Check on. My chicken's white.
Why you do that?
What do you mean?
Why you make him white?
Because the white chickens have pretty eggs.
Oh.
But he's a rooster, so.
I see.
If your rooster's laying eggs, you got problems.
Expand. I got 184 slots now.
Sheesh.
Workshop. Gunsmith.
Is your computer still broken? Send to Danny.
Weapon upgrades. Spray Torrente.
You wanna go in as a free kit?
Sure.
I forget how to do that.
Just whenever you're selecting your kit.
Reload out, there we go.
See what gun we get.
Oh yeah. Spent money on this backpack.
Why?
I don't know why. 'Cause I was left unsupervised, that's why, okay?
Nothing here to see, just pods on rails. Raiders take your seats. Launching in 5.
Did you watch a new episode of Freeman?
No.
What?
We went out to dinner. And then we just came home and started playing this.
Where'd you go for dinner? A Stitcher?
Roadhouse.
Oh, hell yeah.
I got a Stitcher too.
And a zip line.
This is Lance. Hey, friendo. Picked up
Yo,
your
can we go to
frequency.
the top of that
Anyway, see to those
Twin
medical
Towers over there?
supplies and do try to come back in one piece. Makes my life a lot easier. Lance, out.
Spaceport. Departure building exam rooms.
Go to the departure building.
I need some antiseptic.
Huh?
I need some antiseptic.
Why?
It says I need it for a quest. Yeah, I've used this gun like twice.
Top of the tower? Isn't this just like a pistol or what is this? No,
The Stitcher?
SMG. I've only used the Pharaoh.
There's a hole in the ground.
And then I never died.
You've never died once? I don't believe that.
All of my raids.
I don't believe that.
I've only ever gone in with Danny and Waffle. No, that's a lie. I did die once. Whenever we went up to the top of the 2 towers, and then they died, and then I got killed.
Wait, so you've been up there?
Once. Not up to the top. I was trying to find my way up to the top, and then somebody came and shot me with a shotgun.
I think there's like a line in the middle.
We're attacking people.
Harvest grape mullen.
We've seen the apricots. I need one.
I'm not telling you, I'm just taking them.
No, but I need one.
For your chicken?
Yeah.
You scared the shit out of me.
What?
You're not even gonna open that thing? Could have bullets. You gotta stop scaring the shit out of me.
It just came up on me, though. Need a battery.
Listen, a battery.
A battery?
Battery.
Wow. Now I can recharge my vape. What's that? Okay.
Where am I supposed to go? I'm in the building we're at. Search 2 containers of departure building exam rooms. Where are the exam rooms?
Rocketeer, there, by the launch towers.
This place is cool.
Find the exam rooms.
See a person way the fuck over there.
Out there. Raider, outside.
Okay, well. This. Oh. Stupid little spider.
Budding at the Denny's. I feel like I found a toaster. Budding at the Denny's.
There's so many little spiders.
Oh my god. I got you, homie.
I need a new gun.
Rubber duck.
Rubber duck! Back up. Light ammo.
Hey, rubber duck.
Rubber duck!
Look at that, we've like doubled your collection.
Holy. It's a good night for ducks. Did you watch the new episode of Fallout?
I haven't watched any of the new season. I'll go binge it when it's done.
Dude, these damn dogs are kicking the gate open. Where are we at?
I think these are the exam rooms. What is the cafeteria? It says I have to search things in the exam room, but I don't know where that is. Whoops. Okay, let's do this. You're gonna scare Bobby. Okay.
Seems like this place has been looted. How'd he get over there, shot?
Hey, I found it. Okay, well I'm good here.
Okay.
Now I can go to the towers or whatever.
There's a big old Rocketeer out front of it.
Alright, so
Big old drone that came up right in front of me.
well, I'm full. There's a rat. So, oh, there's stairs. That's crazy.
To the towers?
Sure.
Hornet, the launch pad.
Owie! Getting shot at? Hello. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Down.
Yeah. Man. Really?
Raider, by the control tower.
Fucking look at that guy up there. He fucking sucks.
Raider.
What's up with that? Alright, well.
Head home at the control hatch.
Oh, that's towards the guy. It's not go that way.
Oh yeah, fucking sucks.
Oh, he's shooting at me now.
What a dick.
Right.
An Ark orbiter is en route. The safe window is closing. You have 10 minutes to return to Speranza. I repeat, 10 minutes.
Security here. Confirming your request. Just hang on a second. There. Elevator is on its way.
Apparently it does not like me streaming this game.
What, Twitch?
Just OBS.
Oh.
So probably just in stream. That shit dying.
We made it out, Bobby.
Yippee!
Look at us go.
Oh, my game's crashing. In stream. What a fucking dickhead. They're just going for long swipes. I got an outfit.